Yeah, two. Call the El Reno Air Park Authority regular meeting to order on Tuesday, March 9th at 5:31. Roll call start with Ms. Ryder.
Here.
Trustee White?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Ballhorn?
Yes.
Trustee Jensen?
Here.
Chairman Robinson?
Here. We'll do the consent agenda. The following items are considered to be routine by the El Reno Air Park Authority. Will be enacted with one motion. Should discussion be desired on any item, the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Number one is approval of the minutes of the February 9th, 2021 regular meeting in the El Reno Air Park Authority. And number two is approval of budget amendment of the fiscal year 2020 and 2021 ending June 30th of 2021.
Make a motion we approve.
A motion and a second. We'll start with Ms. Ryder.
Yes.
Trustee White?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Ballhorn?
Yep.
Trustee Jensen?
Yes.
Chairman Robinson?
Yes. I guess move on to a motion for adjournment.
So move. Second.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
5:32, I call the El Reno Recreational Authority meeting, March 9th, 2020 to order. Roll call will start with Mr. Jensen.
Here.
Trustee White?
Yep.
Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Ryder?
Here.
Chairman Ballhorn?
Yes. Consent agenda. The following items are considered to be routine by the El Reno Recreational Authority and will be enacted with one motion. Should discussion be desired on any item, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Item number one, approval of minutes of the February 9th, 2021 regular meeting of the El Reno Recreational Authority. And number two, approval of budget amendments for the fiscal year 2020-21 ending June 30th, 2021.
Motion approved.
Second. A motion second. We'll start with Mr. Jensen.
Yes.
Trustee White?
Yep.
Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Ryder?
Yes.
Chairman Ballhorn?
Yes. Discussion items. Discussion, consideration, possible action to approve an agreement between the City of El Reno and the El Reno Grass Cart Association.
But basically, this is, Mr. Chairman, I think we do this every year.
Yes.
But we corrected a couple of years ago, and we haven't had any problems since we've corrected
We haven't,
everything.
they were limited last year because of COVID, but everything has gone really well, and so it's virtually the same thing. You'll see the dates that they'll be running in the back, make sure they didn't conflict with any major events at the rodeo grounds or anything.
Right.
Time periods, areas, times of operation are still within that window.
Yes, within
Yeah.
that window to not disturb everyone. and-
We had a problem, Kent and I had to go to the meeting. The problem was that they were running behind on races, so they were racing later at night.
Crossing the road and things
And
like
crossing
that.
the road, and we didn't, and we just pointed that out. And if you remember correctly, I think, Bob, they went out and built the fence. We paid for the material, but I think they built the fence.
Yes.
And extended their area. Is that right, Kent? That's
Keeps
kind of the deal.
everything within the fenced area away from the spectators as far as the race cars or grass, whatever you want to call them. And then there was a problem where some of them were running, we'll just call it more than a lawnmower. But we limited that by this. So everything's been
We
along well the last couple of years.
We changed the CC.
Yeah, there you go. Sounds good.
Make a motion to approve the
Second.
agreement.
A motion and second. We'll start with Mr. Jensen.
Yes.
Trustee White?
Yep.
Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Ryder?
Yes.
Chairman Ballhorn?
Yes. Before we adjourn, I wanted to thank Kent again. I went out and I looked at the golf course. The golf course is looking good as far as what the remodeling has been doing and things of that nature. I think it's going to be pretty good. He's getting some camping equipment, different things for the lake. People that want to use the lake is going to be there in case somebody needs it. So we'll have some signs up once it's ready to go, and people will be able to use that for more than just a golf course.
And we're gonna have bait out there, even worms. Is that correct?
That is correct. I never thought I'd be in the fishing business, but I'm in the fishing business, so. Kind of a challenge. I don't know anything about it, but we're getting all
Well,
that
I
in.
can't wait to
and
see the name of the
Found a
worms.
live bait place for you today, Mayor.
Yeah, I
So,
got, it's,
Well, thanks again. I'll take a motion for adjournment.
so moved.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
It's now 5:36. I now call the El Reno Hospital Authority regular meeting, Tuesday, February the 9th, 2020-21. To order, roll call, start with Ryder.
Here.
Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Ballhorn?
Yes.
Trustee Jensen?
Here.
Chairman White?
Yes, we'll go on to consent agenda. The final item be considered routine by the El Reno Municipal Hospital Authority. And with one motion, it should be then, if not, one motion, if you want to discuss this item, be desired, that item could be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Number one, approval of minutes of the February 9th, 2021 regular meeting of the El Reno, City of El Reno Hospital Authority.
Motion to accept the minutes?
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call start with Jensen.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Ballhorn.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Trustee Ryder.
Yes.
Chairman White.
Yeah. Motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Now 5:37, I now call the El Reno Municipal Authority regular meeting of Tuesday, March the 9th, 2021 to order. Oh, I forgot, yeah, okay. Make sure, smaller print too. Thanks, Lindsay. I'm playing on you now. Okay. Call the meeting to order. Roll call start with Ryder.
Here.
Trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Ballhorn.
Yes.
Trustee Jensen.
Here.
Chairman White.
Yes. Going to new business, deletions, continuations to the agenda at a time. Are there any? If not, we'll move on to consent agenda. The following items be considered routine by the El Reno Municipal Authority and being acted with one motion. Should discussion be on that item be desired, that item be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Number one, approval of minutes of the February 9th, 2021 regular meeting of El Reno Municipal Authority. Number two, approval of budget amendments for the fiscal year 2020-21 ending June 30th, 2021. And number three, approval of claims requiring trustee authorization for the period beginning of February 1st, 2021 and ending February 28th, 2021.
Motion for approval.
I got a motion.
Second?
I got a second. Roll call start with Jensen.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Ballhorn.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Trustee Ryder.
Yes.
Chairman White.
Yes. We'll move on to discussion items. Number four, discussion, consideration, possible action for approved change order number one in the amount of $6,300, except project K14 for the Lake El Reno lift station rebuild and make final payments to Stevenson Septic and Backhoe for the amount of $11,300. Basically, this was, we didn't put this on there because it wasn't complete. We didn't have electricity on there, so we wanted to wait till we had someone come out and check the motor and test it, and they did. And because of all the weather-related stuff, we couldn't get anybody out here quick, so.
It took a whole month, yeah. But Chris, it's operational, correct?
And that's for that new development back, I want to say Crimson
Lake Estates.
Lake Estates, always get that wrong. So,
Motion approved.
you got a motion?
Second.
Got a second? Roll call start with Ryder.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Ballhorn.
Yep.
Trustee Jensen.
Yes.
Chairman White.
Yes. Discussion, consideration, possible action to approve the third amendment to the water tower lease agreement between El Reno Municipal Authority and the El Reno Silco Partnership Verizon Wireless. I think we want to pull this item. We're not quite
Yeah.
ready for this, so let's go ahead and pull this one. I'll tell you what, don't want to pull it, but let's just take no action on it, and we'll bring it back. Roger, because you still got to have some information you haven't had yet.
That's right, there's some questions that need to be answered.
Yeah. All right, move on to six. Discussion, consideration, possible action, change order number 2, project number L03, North Boynton Storm Sewer Replacement in the amount of $10,568.40 to SAC Services. And Steve, you're out here, but I'll go ahead and, basically, we did the project there on Boynton, and we got everything pretty well complete. There's been a water problem right there at Boynton and Watts. And remember we talked about that, Timmy? And we needed a fix, so Steve and I went out there and came up with a good idea. We just put another, basically a little bit more of a curve dip on that one side, and we can get that whole thing corrected. What's happening is that water's coming down Boynton Street, and instead of going continuing on down to Jackie Norton's or wherever else, it's turning down.
Right. And going across yards.
That's
and
going
everything.
across 2 yards.
Yes.
And that guy, that's one of the claims that we've had on the deal, so this will maybe help alleviate that. And they're already there, it'll be easy to do and be done with it. Is that right, Steve? I mean, you concur with that, right?
And this is for some additional quantities as well.
And this is also, this is also quantity, that, we've already done that one. This is also for additional quantities that we had on the job itself.
Make a motion to approve?
Got a motion?
Second.
Got a motion second. Roll call start with Jensen.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Ballhorn.
Yep.
Trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Trustee Ryder.
Yes.
Chairman White.
Yes. All right, we're going, discussion, consideration, possible action to approve and accept project number L06 drainage improvements at Rogers and Moore Street. Approve final payment to EMC Services in the amount of $89,015.55 and activate maintenance bond. This is a project that we've been working on for years, and hopefully, I mean, these people are in a, they're in a floodplain. but we, hopefully this'll do a lot better. I mean, the shots, we feel like we're pretty good about this. This is the final deal. I drove by there, they don't have sod on there on that one end, but I think the discussion was that you all feel like you all can do that cheaper than what the change order would be. We discussed that together, so you're gonna go ahead and do that ourselves, but that will be complete, is that right?
Right.
I wanna make sure that's done, because I want that erosion control, it all has to be sewed up, but everything else looks good, Steve. All right, any questions?
Motion approved.
I got a motion. Second, roll call, let's start with Ryder.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Ballhorn?
Yep.
Trustee Jensen?
Yes.
Chairman White?
Yes. Number 8, discussion consideration possible action regarding change order to the GMAX with Waldorf Construction to the renovation of the Northwest Community Center not to exceed $16,000 and authorize chairman, mayor to sign all documents associated thereto. Ken, during this process, we've had some broken pipes down at the Northwest. I mean, I can't imagine what happened there. But we had some broken pipes down there. But when we got in there, we really think that some of the pipes we fixed, we need to go ahead and replace because they were original copper pipes. And while we're tearing the walls out and doing all the renovations, we might as well go ahead and put PEX in there now. Is that correct?
We feel like we've now been time to do this as we do have electrical renovations going on, and we're in hopes that because of the damage, that we have an insurance claim that will file, so there'll be part of that to reimburse what the $16,000 actually is.
Okay. Any questions? Okay.
I motion approved.
Got a motion approved?
Second.
Second, roll call start with Ryder.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Vice Chairman
Roger, you
Ballhorn?
mind saying the prayer?
Yes.
Trustee Jensen?
Yes.
Chairman White?
Yes. Motion for adjournment?
So moved.
A motion, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Okay, no one's here for Minister Alliance, are they? Okay, we'll move on to, it's now 5:43. I now call the El Reno City Council meeting, regular meeting of Tuesday, March the 9th, 2021, to order. Before we start, let's go ahead. Roger, you mind leading us in the word of the Lord?
Honored to do that. Please bow your heads. Dear Lord, we come before you this evening as a thankful people. We're thankful as we watch the transition from winter to spring and excited about the hope that that brings to our community. We're thankful for God's grace, guidance, and protection of our community and its citizens. Tonight, we're especially thankful for the men and women you see here in this room this evening. We're thankful for those who are elected, those who are employees, and those who are here to care about the city's business. We ask your blessing on them and on all of our community. Amen.
Amen.
Join the flag salute, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Lindsay, is it just me or is it hot in here?
The air's on.
Okay, good. So it was hot in here.
It was hot.
Yes,
Yeah,
it was
okay.
hot.
Cranked it down.
All right,
Need a roll call.
I do.
Councilman Jensen? Vice Mayor Ballhorn? Yeah. Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Ryder?
Yes,
Mayor
here.
White?
Careful, yes. All right, we'll move on. After I got the roll call done, move on to new business, deletions, features, agenda time. Are there any? If not, we'll go on the consent agenda. The following items will be considered routine by the El Reno City Council, being acted with one motion. Should discussion be desired on that item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. City manager recommends with one motion we approve. Number 1, approval of minutes, the February 9th, 2021 regular meeting of the El Reno City Council. Number 2, approval of budget amendments for the fiscal year 2020-2021 ending June 30th, 2021. And number 3, approval of claims requiring all council authorization for the period beginning February 1st, 2021 and ending February 28th, 2021.
Motion we approve.
I got a motion. Got a second. Roll call start with Jensen.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ballhorn?
Yes.
Councilman Robinson?
Oh, yeah.
Councilwoman Ryder?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Oh, yeah. We'll go on to audience participation. Anyone having an item of business to pertain to the city council does not appear in your agenda, please come to the podium at this time. State your name. You're requested to limit your presentation to 3 minutes. Any item being presented must pertain to the city of El Reno business. Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? All right. We'll move on to discussion items. F, Discussion items, to conduct a public hearing and consideration request by Charles Holbrook to reclassify the zoning district from single-family residential R1 to restricted commercial CR in approximately 4 acres located between Southwest 25th Street and 27th Street and between South Lawn Place and South Choctaw Avenue within the southeast quarter, southeast 4, section 17, township 12, north range 7, west of Indian Meridian, Canadian County, Oklahoma. I now consider this public hearing open. Okay, Dustin, this item came before the Planning Commission, is that correct?
That's correct.
And they had some problems with it because they didn't, tell me why they had problems with it. I read the packet, but you tell me.
So the Planning Commission, there was a large number of folks that were at the meeting, came up with a large list of complaints that were, about being next to the neighborhood, about neighborhood character, property values. There were several formal protest letters that are in your packet. And the planning, and the Planning Commission decided to vote 6 to an abstention to recommend denial.
Just a
The
quick,
the applicant has submitted this paperwork, and I apologize that it wasn't in your packet.
well, now, is this the same letter that they gave out to us?
Did-
Charlie, you sent me a letter. Okay, is this it or different?
Yeah, this is that letter, but I don't know that everybody's
I
got it.
I got it, in my email.
It's available right here. And I'm not gonna read it, but it does talk about some of those things and tries to address some of them. Do you guys have any other questions for me at this time?
Just one, Dustin. What was the percentage of complaints?
Percentage as in, percentage of the land, for the supermajority?
Yes.
The formal complaint did not, or the number of formal complaints based on the area with based on the areas, because the large lot that the school has
Yep.
is within that 300 feet. That lot makes it to where
I
it would
got
be
you.
very, very difficult to get the 80%.
Fair enough. I thought that, but I want to double check. Okay. Charlie, you want to come up here or Kyra, are you helping with this too? Or? Oh, okay.
I didn't know if if all of you had even gotten the letter. I just wanted to make sure
I got it, Dave.
I
I had a
did.
chance to read it. If that's the case, I guess there's really no need in reading it again, unless it's for the neighborhood people.
Whatever you want to do, Charlie.
Yeah, that'd be fine. It might answer some questions. I can't read as fast as you do.
You shouldn't be. I hope not.
Okay. Well, basically, facts of the property. Our family's owned the property for about 21 years. The property is 3.7 acres. It's 200 feet by 800 feet. Down the north side, which would be obviously the top of the picture up there, my family owns 500 of the 800 feet along the north property. Of that 500 feet, going down the property line, you're 100 to 125 feet from the closest house. The other 300 feet is the end of Dilly, and there are 2 houses adjacent to the property line there. On the west side, there's 3 houses that face South Lawn Place that back up to the property. One of those houses is already adjacent to a commercial property that faces 27th Street. On the south side, which would be 27th Street, the property is 278 feet from 27th Street. And it's fronted across the front with five other properties that sit in front of it, so it's kind of landlocked in there. 2 of those 5 properties are already currently zoned commercial of some type, CC, CO, I think. There's a third, there's been a request for a CR. So there would be 3 of those 5 that are commercial, and obviously the corner down there on Choctaw and 27th Street, I mean, that's a prime location for commercial. I mean, even I can see that. The concerns that, I jotted down a few at the meeting the other night, and I didn't really respond to them. But the main one was, everyone seemed concerned about the property values. There's commercial property, I looked all over the city map, El Reno city map. There's commercial property that backs up to R1 and R2 properties all over town. Every major intersection, Country Club and Elm and Choctaw, Elm and Rock Island. I haven't seen any drop in property values there. Actually, a zoning change for this would increase the value of the houses or the properties on 27th Street. They were really concerned about increased traffic. And I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. The city would require access from 27th Street. So, sorry, my glasses are fogged up. Other than an emergency exit, probably out the back side of it, which could be put on my property even, there would be no additional traffic to the neighborhood coming in and out of 27th Street. Noise, a storage unit business. I've got one next to my house. They're not really busy places other than the initial construction. Someone was concerned about drug dealing and homeless people hanging out there. I don't think that's going to happen. It's secure, there's cameras, and the police department's right across the street. They were concerned about quality homes and building homes in that area. Well, my family history, I kind of know what can go in there. I know I had a father that at one time considered it. I've got actual drawings. And based on the size of that area, it may be zoned R1, but in order to make enough money or profit to pay for streets and utilities, R1 homes are not likely to go in there. It's either going to have to be an R2 or an R3 situation. If, say, they went R2, I already know you can get 17 homes in there. If you put 17 homes in there, that's at least, if, say, the people only own 2 vehicles, that's 34 cars you're adding traffic to up and down 25th Street. You either have to go down Choctaw or up South Lawn Place. That's basically it. It seems to me that, they were concerned about traffic, noise, and the quality of the homes. But if we went a fence across the north side of the property, put in something quiet, that guarantees the neighborhood will stay the same. There's not going to be any change. Another thing I'd like to point out is that on page 30 of the Route to the Future plan, that entire area right there is marked as commercial. That's the plan, including the land I'm talking about. From there to Choctaw, all of 27th. I guess the planning people didn't know that or see it, but and finally, I'd just like to say, it's not a personal thing with me. I didn't take it lightly. I was born and raised in that neighborhood. I've been in every house in that neighborhood. And I put myself in your place and my dad's place. My mom and dad lived there for 60 years. And when you run up and down 25th Street, you don't even notice that land back there. It's, with the exception of about 5 houses, you don't even see it back there. It's landlocked, it needs to be developed. The city itself says, hey, let's make it commercial of some kind. And that's basically it.
Charlie, thank you.
Anything else?
Just a couple questions, Charlie. A statement first. I want to make sure, like you said, personal. I've known your dad and you all, and your dad and I have been friends. We were very close to family. And we do know that you all have helped build a lot of El Reno in that area and out behind the Montana Mike's area. So don't think that you've been through these zoning deals just like this before.
Oh, yeah.
The only thing that I kind of have I have some problems with the whole thing. But the main thing is that you know, you're saying we can get access from 27th Street, but yet you don't have land there.
I don't.
I know, and that's the problem. See, he does, and you all have a contract, but then it's kind of one of those things that I can't have a real estate deal being brewing, and then we making decisions on what zoning's gonna happen if something happens on something like that. And I can't have it for these people out here, and I've had a lot of calls on it too. I hear you, and I remember when your dad tried to, you know, we were gonna take a run at this before, and I've seen those plans. Scott Ryan, I looked at them. I mean, I'd like to see some houses. I'm with you. It's gonna be tough to make those houses back there, and Kent's gonna be on you pretty good, him and Chief Duff, because of that cul-de-sac in order for a fire truck to get around. I don't know if that's gonna be a problem. Saying all that, you know, storage is, we got another item coming up. It's on a 4-lane road. It's same type deal. Neighbors were upset. Everything you said is what we're saying, what I said on the other one. That's a perfect spot. There was storage over there. The only thing about this area right here, in my opinion, and everything you said about the property is correct. It just backs up to those houses, and that's kind of what it was laid out to be. And the problem is nothing happened to it, and it kind of built around there, and you really hate the structure. Now, Dustin, I looked at that map, and it shows commercial.
The future land use map, if you can go to the next slide, please, Alan. The future land use map does show neighborhood commercial here, which is for commercial office and convenience commercial, those two most restrictive commercial zoning districts. So.
The next slide, go ahead.
Yeah, if you go back to the previous slide, it shows that, which would be page 29 of your document instead of page 30. It shows in that table that CR, restricted commercial, is slow. It's something that you guys, maybe it's the right fit, maybe it's not, but it's something that should be done with, you know,
Caution.
judiciousness, yes.
And the bottom line is basically when you do that with not caution, but as you develop that plan, you have to understand what happens in front of it or beside it. And it goes back to my problem. If you own that property and it was all together, then I think we'd be talking about something different. But we don't. And that's my problem with it. I mean, I mean, everything else you said, I hear you. And I think the neighbors are cautious about it. I do think that storage is not going to be a bad thing. I don't know if that's the right spot for it, though. I like the other area on a 4-lane road, and that's just kind of, you know, there's no houses around there. There's storage beside there, cemetery across the street. I mean, you take all those factors in play, and that's just kind of where I'm at. But anyway, any other questions for Mr. Holbrook?
The thing that was odd to me on neighborhood commercial,
Yeah.
you can have a concert hall in there, you can have a gas station, but you can't have a storage place. That makes no sense.
Once again, and to defend you, we understand that, and we're changing some of that tonight. We changed the code, we took it back to help preside that. We're not saying this is a viable plan, and I'm not saying there's holes in what you're saying, because you're probably right. I think I'm just telling you, without all those boxes checked, it's hard for me to understand how that would work for that neighborhood without all those other boxes checked. That's all I'm saying. But I hear you. Thank you, Charlie.
Matt, say anything?
Yeah.
So I'm Jeremy. I represent the potential buyer for this piece of property. So you know we're in the storage business and stuff, but
What I hear.
mainly when we look at this piece of property, we're not dead set on throwing storage on there. It's more a chance to invest in this piece of property. We saw what the future zoning map had on there. We own that piece of property right there along 27th Street that has the circle drive. You can put it, and we just thought it was a good opportunity to try and purchase this property for any opportunity that might, you know, come about in the future for professional buildings.
Sure, let me throw something out at you, because I want you to buy it from Charlie. I don't prefer, I really don't want Kyra to get the commission,
Right.
but I want Charlie to sell it. But the bottom line is that what we need to do is, you know, I hear what you're saying, but don't forget, you were up here a couple months ago, we were talking about the front half, we didn't do that because I think it goes back to the point to where I think storage is going to be a problem in that area because there's houses over there and it just doesn't fit in that area that far in. Now, that's my opinion. I'm with you. I think it's a great piece of property, and you having the access, I think, helps you.
Right.
But I think it goes back to the point, you're in the storage business, I'm kind of halfway in the development business, and you know that. So I think it goes back to the point to where, you know, if you went ahead and took a chance and bought that and whatever else, I think there could be some options if you put it together and pieced it together and we came up with an idea that fits the neighborhood. Does that make sense? Sure. I mean, I'm even going to go, you know, I'm like Charlie, they're not going to want multifamily. I don't want to see apartments back there at all. That's not the right fit either. I don't think that fits in what Curtis and them got one or anybody else wants. But saying that, could there be some units there with some duplex units like there is right down the street there on Scott's place? There could be, especially if there's access on 27th Street. Sure. I think the bottom line is you're asking, I'm just speaking for myself, you're asking me to make a decision on a contract that might happen, might not happen, depends on what happens. You know, title might be clouded. I'm making all that up, but I got to take that in consideration and then change the zoning in case all that happens. That's going to be tough for me to do. Now, they can do what they want. But I think it goes back to the point to where, you know, I don't see storage there, but I do see an opportunity. And I think the key is absolutely with the big piece of land behind you and also the frontage that you have up front. That changes your situation that you brought to us a month ago. Now, not based on storage, but change your situation for development and access. Does that make sense? Am I talking right?
I think you are.
I mean, I think it goes back to the point to where we have to do the right thing for the neighborhood. Storage does not fit in that neighborhood. Now, I'm like Charlie. Years ago, there should have been a 7-Eleven right there on the corner right there, and it would have worked, you know, and I think that would have changed the direction. And we have the option at that point in time based on our development plan to do that. Does that make sense? But right now, I don't think storage is the right thing. I'd like to see housing. But I'm also open to other, like you said, business parks. I'm going to tell you, I don't think anybody would be against. It goes back to what Charlie, I mean, storage units, there's not going to be a lot of people there, but there is going to be traffic coming in there. You know, they're not going to want drug dealers and everything else because you're going to have security up there. If people are hanging out, sleeping there, they're not going to store their stuff there. So I don't think all that's going to happen. Saying that, I think the neighborhood would like it, and I would like to see housing in there to fill in that area, or I think you could do some more commercial office type development if you have access, which you do. And so I think if you could put a deal together, I would encourage you to do that because I think it's a great piece of property. And I think you both have a good idea. I just don't think this mechanical fit, I'm just talking to you myself, would be a good logical fit as much as the other item that you have on here tonight. Right. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah.
Charlie, I know that doesn't make you happy, but that's kind of where I'm at. But I hope you get together, you two, and get this thing done. And Kyra, you can make a little commission if you want. But I hope it works. Any other questions? Or any statements on that side? All right. You all, well, I've read the documents, and if you all, I mean, is there anything here that you all want to discuss besides, you all wrote formal complaints, we've got those in our packets.
My concern now.
Come up and state your name.
Dave Black. I mean, originally it was going to be storage units, and now he's saying he's not firm on that. So what other commercial stuff would we put in there?
Well,
that's why, if you do go ahead and change it to commercial tonight, it's open door for whatever goes in there.
I think that's my concern. Okay. I mean, that is absolutely, I mean, if you haven't been listening to me, that's my concern. I don't think you can do that. And I think that if you're doing that, you're making a big mistake. Okay. For them and us. Because they don't have either pieces of property. It's about a what if, you know, if this domino falls and that domino falls, then this will come in place. I think it goes back to the point to where I don't think storage is there. I don't think that's right for storage, but I think let's look at a plan from them, and I think it goes back to the point to where if they can come up with something together and maybe get it together to where they can make it flow, I think there's other options. And Jeremy and them you all do more than storage. You know, you guys get your hands in 3 or 4 different other little projects. So it could be potentially work out. Once again, bring back up to us with a plan, with what you have, with what the exits you have, with where the utilities are going to be, how it's going to flow, what it's going to do. Then we'll talk together. But right now, I'm telling you, I just don't see it happening with storage units without those pieces of property, and I don't see storage units being in that neighborhood setting. Okay. Now saying that, like I said, it's off that commercial and everything else, so that one lot could sell that corner could sell to a 7-Eleven. And could it flow into insurance offices and doctor's offices and whatever else in there? Sure it could. And that could be a good application. We'd have to look at that, and we'd have to bring back up and come back up to that point in time. I'm going back to what Charlie did. We're talking about storages. You know, if you have an office park, everything shuts down at 5 o'clock. That's really what you want anyway, because you guys are home and be done. So there's different options, but that's the options that they're going to have to come up with as developers based on what they can make money at. The best use of the property. Does that make sense? So that's kind of where I'm at. I think we're all the same place. Any other questions? Any other comments? Anybody for or against? All right. I now consider the public hearing closed. We'll move on to B, discussion, consideration, possible action. Ordinance number 9262, an ordinance of Charles Holbrook to reclassify the zoning district from single-family R1 to residential commercial CR, approximately 4 acres located between Southwest 25th Street and Southwest 27th Street, and between South Lawn Place and South Choctaw Avenue with the southwest quarter, southeast 4 section, 17 Township 12 North Range 7 West Indian in Canadian County. I make a motion that we deny based on the Planning Commission's recommendation. I got a motion. Second, roll call vote start with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ballhorn?
Yep.
Councilman Jensen? Mayor White?
Yes. You three get together. This deal shouldn't be over with. Does that make sense? There's an opportunity there for everybody. There's absolutely an opportunity there. Okay, we'll move on. Number 5, to conduct a public hearing, consider a question of ABC's Nutrition LLC to reclassify zoning district from rural agricultural A1 to restricted commercial CR, approximately 9 acres on the southeast side, southeast Shepherd, north of Southwest 27th, within the southwest quarter, Southwest 4, Section 15, Township 12, North Range 7, West Indian Meridian, Canadian County, Oklahoma. Dustin, this is an item that I asked the council to kick back and see if we could come back and change. I say kick back, but be careful with that word. Throw back to the Planning Commission and look at changing the institution wording basically on how the storage units work. Is that correct?
Right, from CAR to CR.
Yeah,
To CR.
the applicant amended their application to the restricted commercial zoning district rather than the CAR zoning district as their proposal. And the Planning Commission did move to approve this agenda item.
Okay. Now, it was approved by 100%, right? With one abstention?
One abstention.
And he owns the travel, or he owns a storage.
He owns a storage facility.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions for me?
No. Okay, any other questions? And basically what it is, we met with the people, we have some things in place, it makes sense. Once again, it's on a 4-lane road, and once again, there's storage, there was storage right there at Peter's place.
Next door.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions? Any other comments? All right, I now consider this public hearing closed. Discussion, consideration, possible action, ordinance number 9263, an ordinance to the request of ABC Nutrition LLC to reclassify the zoning district from rural agriculture A1 to restricted commercial CR on approximately 9 acres on the southeast side of Shepherd, north of Southwest 27th Street, within the southeast quarter, southeast 4th of Section 15, Township 12, North Range 7, West Indian Meridian in Canadian County, Oklahoma. I make a motion we approve the application. Second. I got a motion second. Roll call vote start with Jensen.
Vice Mayor Ballhorn?
Yes.
Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Ryder?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. All right, we'll move on to 6, discussion, consideration, possible action, ordinance number 9258, an ordinance to the request of On Point Hoops Corporation to reclassify zoning district from restricted commercial CR, multifamily, R3, approximately 0.29 acres located at 517 North Admire, more particularly described as lots 1 through 4, Block 12, the Clark's Edition, to El Reno, Oklahoma, Canadian County, Oklahoma, according to the recorded plat, therefore. Okay, Mr. Dustin, Okay. Basically, this is took before the planning commission.
It did.
And it passed 100%.
It did.
Okay. And we just wanted him to come back up here because it's approved, but now he has to go through the steps of the approval of the,
It still has,
Building
it still
permits.
has to, yeah.
okay. That's all I got. Okay, y'all got any questions? Okay. Anything else? All right. We don't have to have a public hearing because we already had one. Okay. All right. I make a motion we approve based on planning commission. Got a motion second. Roll call vote start with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ballhorn?
Yep.
Councilman Jensen? Mayor White?
Yes. Number 7, thank you all. Number 7, discussion consideration possible action resolution 21-031, a resolution requesting the Association of Central Oklahoma Governments, ACOG, consider selection of the Route 66/Sunset Drive corridor plan as a project candidate for the CERAI planning demonstration site program. Dustin, this is the stuff that nerds get excited about.
One would hope so. Yes, what this is it gives us an opportunity to, go through this application. If it's successful, we'll have help from the Institute of Quality Communities through the University of Oklahoma to do a planning demonstration project on Sunset, our historical Route 66 area there between downtown, specifically between Choctaw and Country Club as it extends west there, kind of buffer it in between between downtown and Adams Park. That is an area that has an awful lot of existing cultural resources. The heritage of Route 66 is there. There are still, there are remnants of that heyday still there. There are ways that we can work with the community and build something that not only improves tourism, because we have people from all over the world that come through and use that piece of road, stop, eat, shop, do things there. We can enhance that opportunity for them, while at the same time, hopefully improve the number of jobs in that area, the quality of life for people there. We're going to try and tie this in with the ODOT sidewalk project that you guys are aware of that should be starting next year in that area, and try and do some things that not only help the people that live right in that area, but help us become more of a regional tourism player in cultural heritage tourism, and give people more reason to be proud of the community that we're in.
And we're at 90% plans on the sidewalk.
Yes.
I will mention there was a Scrivener's error in the packet. This item did not go to Planning Commission. I apologize. I copied a commentary and the Holbrook commentary, and that's why it shows that denial. That's my fault.
Okay, but basically there's no financial impact from us except for your time and everything
Yeah,
else.
it will be staff time. What the grant is for, again, it doesn't give us any money to do a physical project. It gives us more planner staff time, the Institute from Quality Communities to help us build a corridor plan so that we know what the most effective way is to develop and to encourage development in that area.
So at the end of the day, we'll have a study/plan with some implementation steps on how to take it from where we are to 20, 30 years.
Yes, it will look like a miniature version of Route to the Future.
But the bottom line is we use that in some of our grant process and everything else. So, I mean, well, that's one of our tools that we'll slap out if there's a grant or whatever else we're gonna do.
And it can help us with comprehensive economic development when we go that direction.
Sure. Thanks, Dustin. I'll make a motion we approve.
Second.
Got a motion second, roll call vote, start with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ballhorn?
Yes.
Councilman Jensen? Mayor White?
Yes, we'll go on to 7. Discussion, consideration, possible action to approve change order number 1, amount of $6,300, accept project K14 at Lake El Reno Lift Station rebuild and make final payments to Stevenson Backhoe and Septic, an amount of $11,300. This was in the authority.
Motion for authority.
I got a motion by Bob Thordy, second by Tim. Roll call vote start with Jensen.
Vice Mayor Ballhorn?
Yes.
Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilman Ryder?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. We'll move on to 10. We'll,
9.
No action.
no, I'm not going to do 9.
Oh, okay, never mind.
I'm glad you and Lindsay are on top of it. Finally got you guys.
You did.
Okay, 10, project, discussion, consideration, issue change order number 2, project number L03, North Boynton Storm Sewer Replacement in the amount of $10,568.40 to SAC Services.
Per authority?
Per authority by Bob, second by Ryder. Roll call vote with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ballhorn?
Yep.
Councilman Jensen? Mayor White?
Yes. Number 11, discussion, consideration, possible action to approve and accept project number L06, drainage improvements at Rogers and Moore Street, final payment to EMC Services, the amount of $89,015.55. Activate maintenance bond.
Per authority.
I got a motion by Ballhorn. Second by Robinson. Roll call start with Jensen.
Vice Mayor Ballhorn?
Yep.
Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Ryder?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes, we'll go on to 12, discussion, consideration, possible action.
Ended.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. 12, discussion, consideration, possible action regarding change order to GMAX with Waldorf Construction for the renovation of the Northwest Community Center, not to exceed the $16,000, and authorize chairman, mayor to sign all documents associated thereto.
Per authority.
Per authority of Ryder. Second by Ballhorn. Roll call start with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ballhorn?
Yep.
Councilman Jensen? Mayor White?
Yes. 13, discussion, consideration, possible action to improve an agreement between the city of El Reno and the El Reno Grass Car Association.
Per authority.
I got per authority by Ryder.
Second.
Second by Robinson. Roll call start with Jensen.
Vice Mayor Ballhorn?
Yep.
Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Ryder?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. 14, discussion, consideration, action to approve and award project number L-20 demolition of 710 West Woodson and 224 North O Avenue. Okay. We've had these on the list for a year. The COVID kind of deal slowed us down. Matter of fact, I think, Kim went back in the other room, but I think even the marshals were the ones that started some of this process. Is that right?
That's right.
So we just need to, we haven't done anything because of COVID. We stopped everything. It's been a year and we haven't had anything. These properties have been this way for years. You look at them, they're in real bad shape. No response back from the owners or anything else. Is that right? I mean, no, they don't want to work. They don't want to respond. They don't do anything, right? Okay.
They've been condemned, declared a nuisance. They went through the whole process. They were bid out last year,
We just didn't award it.
didn't award it, and now we're at the step, we went through the bidding process again.
Yep.
And so we got a new set of bids to demolish.
Sure. And I would consider, not doing this if we had some questions, somebody wanting to come up here and work with everything that went on, but this isn't the case in this, so,
And these pictures were taken this morning.
yeah. Yeah, we learned our lesson on that. Okay. All right, any questions?
Looking at these bids.
Yes, sir.
Is Baker's, I know Stevenson's local, is Baker's Bucket Truck, is he local?
He is.
Okay.
I mean, he's Banner, local, is that right? But I mean,
Union City or something?
no, he lives here in town. I mean, he lives, matter of fact, Baker lives over off of,
Well, I make the motion
Amity.
to go with low bid of Baker's Bucket Works.
how much?
710 West Woodson is 4,500,
Okay,
and 220 North O is 4,200.
there you go. Just got to say those numbers in there. I got a motion, a second, roll call vote, start with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ballhorn?
Yep.
Councilman Jensen? Mayor White?
Yes. Number 15, discussion, consideration, possible action to establish a priority list for street overlays for the fiscal year of 2021. Okay, we gave you a list of those streets. We're trying to finalize that. You'll see proposed overlays. So if you need to, we need to get you all to get, staff has not had any input back from any of you. So either you want streets fixed in your ward, or we'll just go by this list, is fine. But now it's kind of one of those deals, speak your piece, forever hold. So it's the second time I want to bring this back up because they didn't get any responses. So if you got something, give it to us. If not, circle something on the list and give some suggestions. Talk to Mr. Sanich about it. No action really, is there, Matt? I mean, basically, Steve, what we talked about today, we're going to get the list together, and we have Amy has a priority list, but I mean, we want to let the council have a little input with it. But after we get that, then we'll put it out to bid, probably 3 or 4 weeks, hopefully before the next council meeting, have it out and probably award, in May. it's not really paving season quite yet anyway. Is that right? So, any other questions? Any other comments? Okay, we'll move on. Move on to 16. Discussion, consideration, possible action to establish a film commission to guide future movie production efforts. Okay, what this came with is basically, we wanted to come up with something, and we really, let me kind of set it up. We really enjoyed all the the people coming in town. We've been very gracious with them, and they've been gracious with us, and they've done a lot of deals with a lot of people. I think the only problem that we ran into this last time, it made probably a little bit more impact on some of the neighborhoods than usual. So we just thought that if we had a team together that can kind of put this thing together and come up with something. So we talked to Steve and I talked to Matt, and we all kind of wanted to move that direction to start a film commission. And basically Guthrie has one, and basically kind of help maneuver through there. So we thought about someone from the city council, someone from Chamber, Main Street, fire department, police department, Cheyenne, Arapaho tribes, El Reno school systems, and historic El Reno representative. And we just thought we'd start off with those. Those are kind of you don't want to get too many, you don't want to get too few, let them work for a while. We have some seed money of about $10,000 something that we're wanting to put for the proposal to help get all this together and rein this in a little bit. And then once again, it's just seed money. We want to do a one-time deal, and then we're done after that. They have to come up with their own. They have to come up with their own deal. I mean, they're on their own at that point in time. They're all self-sufficient. Now, they got to run through the city. I think the problem is a lot of this stuff needs to go through the police and fire and city hall, and it has been. But we need to be more involved of how the flow works more than anything else to help us be prepared to answer questions about, they're shooting here, what's the night, shooting, what's required. And I think it'll help protect our citizens to where if someone is next door or whatever else, they know exactly kind of what's going on and what to expect, and just, and it's their decision. We want these people in town, and we want them to be a part of it. They've been great. We got more contacts coming. We got 2 more deals coming. So we feel good about it.
And what we have is we have a parade and event permit, which that doesn't quite fit. We need a film permit.
We need a film permit.
But we don't have the expertise or guidance really to get us to that point yet as a city. And I think that would help, having that process in place would help guide the future productions that come to town. And Steve Maddox is over there in the corner. He's hiding. I don't know if you wanted to.
You see. But Steve kind of, we talked to Steve about it, and he liked the idea. And I just felt like we've had Preservation El Reno, we've had these other ones. We need to get aboard, and the city has to be more involved, and we haven't been, but we're going to have to be because we're the only one that has the teeth in order to fix some of the problems that we ran through last time. And it goes back to the point to where, one person can't say, well, we'll get you a policeman uniform, we'll get a cop car. Let the people that have the cop cars, police uniforms, let them do that, And I think that'll help out a lot better. Any questions?
It's a great idea.
Yep, I thought it was. All right. You want to make a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
I got a motion. I'll second. What? Steve will second. Roll call vote starts Steve.
Vice Mayor Ballhorn.
Sure.
Councilman Robinson. Yep. Councilwoman Ryder.
Yes.
Mayor White.
Yes. Okay. Seventeen, discussion consideration possible action to approve special event permit for Sacred Heart Catholic Schools for private event to be held at Denny Krupp Rodeo Arena, which may consist of 300 people in participation. Basically, we're like everybody else. We, have Sacred Heart has our annual Taste of Sacred Heart. We did not have that this year. We barely squeaked by last year by about 4 or 5 days, and everything started breaking out. So they wanted to do a social distancing deal. They come up with a great plan. They want to have it at Denny Crump outside, covered if it rains. So they want to have that area and spread it all out, and they're going to bring all the stuff to us with the permitting side of how they're going to social distance and everything else. I got a motion for approval. Second. Roll call vote with Tracy.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson. Yes. Vice Mayor Ballhorn.
Yes.
Councilman Benson. Yes.
Yes. Discussion and consideration discussion on February 2021 severe weather disaster declaration. Okay, Matt?
So really, on the 2021 February storm, there's no easy way to slice what happened. It was a disaster. It was federally declared disaster. There's a series of events that set up the loss of our water, the depletion of our system. The series of events started really as a 2-week time period where we were below freezing, and then it dipped below zero for multiple days. So with the series of events that I discussed here, the dripping of the faucets, we had major water line breaks, we had large customers with infrastructure failures that also impacted the system, and all of that added up to be consumption outpaced production. And so what we are doing is we've been investigating the depletion, and we're still gathering that data. We've been looking at the numbers from our major users, and a lot of those numbers are adding up to be what it would be on a July month, as far as, or July, August, a hot summer day. So we're still in the process of evaluating. We've been working towards water infrastructure improvements. Over the last 10 years, there's nothing that, we've been investing heavily dating back to before my time. Back a year ago, there was a water rate increase aimed at going towards the plant specifically to help boost production. And we're still doing that. And that started, we've been investing in that. It's been about a year and a half ago when we installed new lime slakers. Steve Fox has been working with us hand in hand on these improvements. And we're going to continue to make improvements. Obviously this was unprecedented. It has been, I want to commend our staff. I want to commend Chris Smith, Steve Fox, Matt White. We all worked together as a team to come together and face the situation. I know there were parts of town that did not lose water at all. There were parts of town that lost water for several days, and either lost water altogether or lost pressure. So that's where we are.
Steve, you mind coming up? Let me introduce, this is Steve Fox. Steve, you've been our engineer. You were our engineer back in the 90s, is that correct?
That's correct.
And then you weren't our engineer for a while, then you're our engineer again, is that right? Been our engineer probably for the last 15 years, but you've still done work in El Reno for how long? 40 years, 30 years?
30 years.
Okay. All right, let me, and I'm gonna just kind of tag on Matt to make sure I'm right to, I want to understand, because I think people, I want to see those numbers. Don't put those numbers up. Go ahead and get those numbers out, because I'm pretty excited about these numbers. Because it makes whoever's telling the story, makes them really right. The bottom line is we had several leaks, is that correct?
Correct.
And those leaks started with the Rock Island leak that we had that I called in, and we got it going and got it taken care of. Worked till we are hours of the morning on that one, is that right? But we had smaller leaks at that point in time. We've also had major leaks that apparently were on different systems. We're going through those right now, FCI. We did find some damage to our telemetry on our Oklahoma City meter that we received, is that correct? Yes. So that shows, going through the deal, it basically shows, when we were looking out there at the form, it showed zero or very little at that point in time. So we didn't know how that does, so we are trying to look forward to getting another mag meter in order to get that corrected, is that right? And you have contacted Oklahoma City to work through those numbers?
Yes.
Because the bottom line is our numbers were not reading what Oklahoma City's numbers were reading. And then we had several leaks involved in that, and then also the usage. And I think people just can't wrap their mind around the usage, and when I tell them that, they go crazy. but we got prepared for this meeting. I want to show some of these numbers. Well, here, Matt, you help me. So basically, I don't have my glasses on.
I understand.
Basically, let's just give me Houston Church, or Houston Rural Water District. Last year this time, they had how much water they use?
Last year this time, they used 1.28 million gallons.
Okay, they used 1.28 million gallons based on February, and that was based up on a full usage of 28 days. Is that correct?
Yes, 29 days last year. Yes.
Okay, 29 days. We got an extra day out of it, okay? And then this time, this year, and they were down. I think Houston was down, because don't forget, and here's the other thing that people don't realize, we can't just turn the system back on. Is that correct, Steve?
Correct.
We'll bust every pipe and every infrastructure that we've corrected here throughout our community. And we fixed about every whole line the last 10 years. We have a copy of all that up here. So right now, what do they run?
In February 2021, 2.28.
Double.
Double what they ran, and they were down for almost a week and a half, 2 weeks. Does that make sense? I don't know what the total time frame was. So they did use more, they used double the water that they normally use, but yet they were down half the time almost. Now that's not correct, I'll say half the time, whatever dates they were down. And I don't know that because we gave them water at a certain point in time, but they decided not to pump their system on for at least 2 or 3 days. Is that right, Chris? Huh? Because they would have blown their lines out too, is that right? So TJ, she did a good job, okay? And then let's take the FCI for instance. What did they use? Let's take Union City. Let's take Union City for, what did they do last year, 2020, February, what did they do?
1.8.
1.8 for Union City, and what did they do this time?
1.96.
1.96. So you can see we're kind of calculating where some of the losses are and everything else.
Again, that's a shorter time frame when they're able to use.
Right.
Yeah, it's that, don't forget, that's the same deal. It's about 10 days short of what they have, what they normally use on a short month. And then, so we can go on FCI, but the bottom line is that's the total. But give me the El Reno residents. That's the one I really want to look at.
So El Reno residents hasn't fully been calculated yet because of all the manual reads that we have. We've done the automatic reads, right, Chris, as far as, but I don't have the final numbers on that one yet.
Okay, but we'll have those. But it should trend the same way because we're going back by what our usage is in the other one. Now saying this, people, what I was doing was just passing on information. I mean, I got hit pretty hard. That's okay, because they were yelling at Chris. I mean, everybody's wanting water real bad. I needed them to kind of focus on somebody. I don't appreciate some of the council people that, I think you've kept everybody informed with updates. People's wives and boyfriends liking things on Facebook that I knew and you should have known were not true. I mean, it just was not true. And I'm pretty upset with that because it's just not right. It's not true. We absolutely were telling everybody what was going on constantly every step of the way. And it was a rolling back blackout also that helped affect that we did not discuss. But the rolling blackout absolutely set us back because it was only for a 45-minute time period. But when that happens, we went down the well field in about 4 or 5 foot drifts, started manually turning the wells back on. The generators were absolutely in the barn, David. You said something about the generators. There wasn't anything, the generators never failed one time. Didn't have to use them because it was 45-minute down. We went out and powered the system back and came back on. Saying that, the system doesn't just start back up and produce water. It takes about another 5 to 6 hours on top of that, if longer, because it's cold, in order to fire that back up to get those motors going up. So with that, the water leaks, the high usage that we absolutely have now, and the differentiation that we don't know yet from Oklahoma City, whether they cut us off or didn't. It doesn't matter, but we were telling people that's what we thought because that's what the machine was reading. Is that correct? And we're getting that corrected now. But the bottom line is that a series of events helped the whole thing. And that's what caused it. What do we do to go forward? That's the question. And I do want to step back just a little bit. We have done a lot of upgrades, this council and some of the other councils in past. Mr. Reinhardt, you've helped us do some of that. We bought land in order to to buy the new clarifier. We've done that a year and a half ago. We bought land by the water tower. Don't forget, when I first came to mayor here, the towers were rusting out and we had towers on there. We entered a contract with a company for 10 years. They take care of it. They painted the inside of our water towers. They maintained that for 10 years. They're working on that. They're still in that contract now. Is that correct, Chris? So we redid all that. We added another 1-million-gallon storage tank of water. And that's the other key we have to do. In order to get the water to us, we have to store the water. Is that right? So we have the 1-million-gallon that we have online that was not online since the 70s. Is that right?
Constructed in the 70s, you have never used it.
It never was even turned on until we all got together and Chris came up with an idea and we helped pushing it and we got it going and now we're storing that water out there. We did the whole clear well. You got one that wind went in there and did put the top on and everything else. We just bought the lime slack. I say slack conveyors. That's asphalt. The lime slakers that we just put in, and they were terrible. And they wear out about every 7 years or something like that, don't they?
Every 7 years.
So the bottom line is, what could we have done? We need to have controls. I think what we've all discussed, and that's the engineers and the water department and Veolia, who was working with us hand in hand to get this thing done. The bottom line is we have to have systems where we can shut Union City off, shut Houston off, shut FCI off through telemetry, and then once we do that, we can, focal on, put our attention on our leaks and whatever else we have to, and it doesn't drain the whole system. The problem is once you do this line, you released all pressure all of town. So you can't, like I said, you can't just build the pressure back up. Now, one thing's been said, and I want to make it clear. I've been a part of it back in the old days, but we didn't do it this time, and you can't do it this time. Everybody's point was, why don't you just turn the wells on and send the raw water to town?
EPA took that away.
EPA won't let us do that. And matter of fact, they made us concrete in when we used to do that. Back in the 90s and stuff like that, under certain situations, they would allow you to do that. They went away from that. My theory, everybody else's theory, Mr. Sanchez, is we produce water for these people at a certain standard. We have to maintain that. Sure. And if we could have done that to our system, once again, we could have got bacteria and whatever else in our system. We could not do that. So what we have to do now is we have to finish our steps that we've done, like we have been, and that's finish this plan out. We have a full set of plans going forward to do this treatment plant, and I know that we've worked, we got some things working as far as contracts we have to go through, Roger. But I do feel like it was such a series of natural disaster events. Hopefully something like that will never, ever happen again. And I'm just telling you, there's nothing that we could have done to overcome that. Even if we had more water, the way it all happened is systematically, it was not built for that. Now, saying that, we take these customers on. We decided to take Houston and Union City on. And I had a lot of El Reno customers ask me, do we have to have those? Well, they're part of our community. They're part of our system. We have to help them, but they have to also be a little bit patient with us. We've had a contract with the city of Union City for almost 30 years, and we've never had a problem one. I say problem one. We've had breaks, Chris. Nothing like this. And same thing with Houston. Is that right? I don't know how long we've been partners with Houston. But they were saying the pumps were going to be gone. We had the pumps in by Friday. They didn't power the system back up. Union City didn't power the system back up. Just like we didn't. You had to let it flow and fill, or you could have absolutely broke the whole thing. Did I miss anything?
No, and of course, the other thing that you have that they don't have is in your distribution system here in town, due to the rise and falls throughout town, we got airlocks. And so we were going around town opening fire hydrants, getting the air out so the water would flow back to the south side of town, up the hill. And that took 2 days to get all the air out.
And does the council have any questions? Because I don't want this stuff, I don't want you all, I want you to get, if you got a question, let's get it out here. We're in an open book up here, and I'm just going to tell you, if you got some questions, let's answer them. Let's talk about them.
I want to point out that through this whole time and the amount of calls and contacts that were made to me, and I would immediately go to the city manager And he was very good. I know how many times I called him, a lot during all this time, and he was always good about communicating what exactly was happening, answering the questions so we could take that information and give it out to the public from the city manager. And Chris Smith, I know you guys were working so hard, and we were all in the same boat and miserable, but you stayed strong and communicated the stuff that needed to be communicated. So all that junk out there on the Facebook and stuff with people being frustrated, don't even respond to it, just find out what the truth is, and that's what we give to the constituents, from the mouth.
And I gave a lot of those announcements up, but all the announcements we did is
Yeah,
because,
you did.
based on what they gave.
Right.
And I was allowing them to work. Chris, only one I ever contacted was with you, and really I was with Mr. Sanity every time we had our meetings in the morning and the afternoon. And like you said, I had departments call me. I never answered those. Chris answered. I never talked to TJ one time at Houston, never talked to David until after the fact. We thanked them. But other than that, we didn't do it. But the problem was frustrating is every bit of information that we gave out on those videos and stuff, because people were home and frustrated, they felt like there was something else going on, and there wasn't. We were telling them every step of the way that something happened. And we're going to be a little more cautious about that as far as doing so much information, but we felt like we wanted to share because we were getting inundated with calls.
Needed to, yeah.
And we had to at that point in time. So looking back, I don't think any of us could have done anything different. We absolutely, called Steve immediately. Once again, someone said something, Chris, you grew up over at this place. I mean, you've got licenses on everything that we have to have through OWRB. I mean, everything that we've done, you've been step through step with it, whether it be the consent orders or whatever else. So we have the best water department you can have. This was absolutely a series of several events in a nutshell, and that's how it was. And it goes from leaks to loss of water to interruptions of service. And maybe interruptions on both sides, where it be the not getting the water or whatever else.
With that said, it's opportunity to look and say, okay, if this happened again, what will we do to be better prepared?
And I think what our key is right now, we need to focus on completing our plan out for our re-up of the water plant, which we've already started that phase. Not only last year when we did that, we really started before that by about 2 years ago. I mean, we got lots of plans, and we have a series of events that we've already bought and purchased, like I said, and upgraded. So now we're going to go forward. What we need to focus on now are the customers and those meters. The Oklahoma City meter and vault, and the meters on the customer side. And we are working on that now currently. Is that right, gentlemen? And that's the key to get the telemetry to where we can shut those meters off. And we're going to make Union City buy theirs, and we're going to make Houston buy theirs. But we're going to have control where we can shut those down so we can get a handle on it quicker than what we did before. And it still wouldn't have helped us. We were in trouble. You were in trouble when the power went off. You couldn't catch up. You're in trouble when the water faucets were running. You couldn't catch up. You're in trouble when the water leaked. You couldn't catch up. You were in trouble when everything was going down. You just couldn't catch up. I mean, and we've said that over and over again. My story, the city staff story, not one story has changed. Not one varied or anything else. And it's not wrong. So if you got any questions, let's get them out there.
I don't really have any questions. I just want to make a few comments, I guess. That the events that happen are unprecedented weather. I don't know that any of us in here have seen anything like that. that lower temperatures for that period of time. And I do want to commend city staff, Sandy, and Chris Smith, and everybody's working. Matt, and everyone, and you were out, cold and working. I don't know how much time you put in. You put in a lot of time. Both Matt.
All of us did. Oh yeah.
But everybody worked hard, and I think it just shows that. And Steve, you were up here. I know you were coming up here Monday. You and I spoke on the phone coming up, and simple bottom line is demand. Our demand outpaced our supply and ability to produce, and it does show us that I know plans in place, but does show us that we need, continual upgrade, and the town's grown and added a lot of stuff, and I don't think there's any way of telling that people, as cold as it's gotten, as water pressure started to drop, I think people thought the pipes were freezing up, so they just opened their taps more, and it just exacerbated the problem. And so there wasn't any way of catching up, and like I said, once it gets empty and you get the air in it and stuff, it takes time to fill all that back up. So, no, I want to commend everybody that worked hard and put a lot of time, because working on that stuff, we were out, in our operation, we worked outside a lot, and extremely tough conditions. I know after, I don't know what day it was, but whenever it warmed up to a high of 10 degrees, after it had been minus 15, 10 degrees seemed pretty warm.
Didn't it? Yeah.
And usually 10 degrees is pretty tough. And so, I don't think there's any way to been able to forecast an event like that coming forward. I do, a lot of upgrades were made at the water plant back, I don't know, years ago. I know in the late 90s, 97, 98 and stuff, and, water lines, all that stuff was upgraded. And I know production at one time was close to 4 million gallons, and maybe that's dropped back a little bit. I don't know.
Well, and that's a great point. I'm glad you said, because I want to talk about that. That's a good point you brought up. Okay, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
But, bottom line is, whatever, we can look at our usage now from our residents and stuff, because, previous council, upgraded all the meters, so we ought to have a pretty good handle on what our maximum demand can be. So now we've, really got to target what we need to look at as far as, buildings produce. And, so I think all we can do is move forward, try to, if the plans that are in place on the water plant upgrade, if that's after this deal, if that's not enough, then we need to, add to it and figure out a way to raise the money and provide.
Do some more.
Give
Well,
good quality water to our customers.
Yeah, now, hang on. Raising money, we don't need money. You can't just throw money at, let's find the problem before we throw money at it. I'm not built like that. Let's find the problem. But let's talk about what you're saying. The plant was built, the issue was done, I think, in 1996 or whatever else. I was on the council back then. And then I got off before any of the projects started. I think it was 97, 98. But that was basically try to upgrade the plant to 4 million gallons. Is that what you said, Steve? Yeah, I mean, because that's right. It was 4 million gallons. And they did the upgrades. But the council at that time did not fund any of the other upgrades after they did them. Matter of fact, they didn't fund any of the line slakers that we're talking about. Is that correct? So in 2000, and don't forget I got elected in 2007, but in 2000, the production went down to 2 million gallons. A little under. Now, also in that same time period, there was also a deal with City of Oklahoma City where you're buying water allotted from them. Is that in that same time period? Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. 2003 on that one. So the bottom line was they did that. Now, when Tony and I came in here and we went over everything, and I think Myers was in there, and then we had Steve. But the bottom line is that's what we're doing, Steve. We're moving towards that direction. But you can't you can produce more, but they didn't have the storage. You see what I'm saying? So what we've done is we did the clear well, because if we didn't do the clear well, we wouldn't have anywhere to put the water you're talking about. Well, that took about a year and a half project on it. We've also redid the underground tank out there, and we had to redo the lines. The problem was once we were powering the system up and turned it on to where we kind of liked it a little bit, it was blowing some of the lines, the older lines out. So don't forget a period of time in your neighborhood where you live, the older neighborhood, that's all been replaced with, instead of the old ductile and everything else, we used to buy the cases of red by the cases, Marcia. We don't even order them anymore. We don't even order them anymore. So the bottom line is, before we start saying, yeah, the plant is absolutely capable of producing every one of our customers and our needs. We want to get back to 4+ million gallons. And we're doing that, but we don't have the land, which we do now, which we bought a year and a half ago. So all these plans have been in place. But I do want to add one thing. This is just like your house. Your wife might want to remodel your whole house, but you can only do so much. We were under a DEQ consent order when I first walked in as mayor, and walked up to DEQ, and they were gonna shut us down. Is that right? And Mr. Rivera and I were up there, and we basically hired Satish at that point in time, and we had to build a wastewater treatment plant because our water was going out in the North Canadian River, running out there. So the bottom line is, what we've had then and what we have now, it has to go together. We had to get the wastewater treatment center first, but we were absolutely have continued all along doing improvements at that water plant and the water lines and the system. So it's been going on the whole time. We don't need to sell bonds. We have a plan. We have the plan in action so far with the rate increase that we did, and we're going to pass that on. But we need to stick to our plan and complete the goal. And the goal is to get it back to those areas to where the leaders before us did not do it. And saying that, I was there also in the earlier 90s when we were absolutely pay as you go. Does that make sense? We didn't have the opportunities. We didn't have the bonding capacity. We didn't have the sales tax. We didn't have all that. That was pay as you go. So it wasn't probably their fault. They did what they could. But we have the lime slakers in now. We have everything else going. We have everything. We're going to work to focus on the meters and the clarifier. And I think that's going to be the key to it. But if everything happened like it did this time, or even a half of what it did, you're still going to run out of water, period, end of story. And I think everybody will agree with that. I mean, all the experts will.
Sewer lines ought to be good and clean.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing is what people don't realize. We were watching those numbers, Mr. Sandage.
Yeah.
As much as going out was coming back in the sewer plant.
sewer plant.
Yes. So people were like going, I'm just not using water. Well, somebody's using water. Because we're sure cleaning a lot of poo over here. And they were saying, well, yeah, there's something wrong. Well, I wanted to take them out there and dunk them out there in that tank. I mean, here's the water. And we're being silly, but that's the whole thing, And when you're home with snow drifts and it's cold and you got to burn snow, you're aggravated. I get it. I don't know who had water, and if I were you, I wouldn't raise your hands, but we didn't, and we didn't. We had a little trickle towards about the third, fourth day, but it wasn't pleasant. I get it, but
I have a question.
Yeah.
When that information came out about if you had damage from the storm to register that, can you talk a little bit about that? I was on the phone with the city manager, with Matt Sandage, on the phone with him because the water pressure had just gone to like half. I called him, and all of a sudden, I'm yelling at him on the phone, oh my gosh, I got water running in I had 3 pipes bust under my house when I was on the phone with him. So, if it happened to me, it's probably happened to a lot of people in town, and what's the process of that?
Well, let me kind of direct some of those questions. Chris, to answer Councilwoman Ryder's, we did a lot of emergency cutoffs all over town, over 100, did we?
In my office, Sparta Lane, the first 2 days, we had 160.
Wow.
That's just the first day, that's just residents. Now, don't forget,
Right.
Lindsay's girls had coming in their office, they kind of got phoned back to us, but we had 160.
Where can you get water keys? I've been trying to find water keys.
well, you get them at Ross's unless there's a bunch of people have leaks, you can't get them. I got 3 at my house, and I keep one in my truck, but anyway, go ahead.
A wrench is what had to be used.
Don't go out there and get that one back in my truck, I need to have that one. You own rent houses, you always carry one back in your truck. But same thing, I had 3 houses, Darren Hicks just got through, and I hope he has a new car this week.
But where to report the damage,
Yes.
damage.ok.gov. So the president declared it, granted the disaster declaration, which then initiated the FEMA process. Now, in order for FEMA to step in with individual assistance, there have to be certain thresholds met.
Benchmark.
So that damage.ok.gov is an assessment, which you go on there and you put your address in, state your damage, the amount, and it goes into a database, and they'll tally that up by county. I'm assuming this is through the Oklahoma Emergency Management Office, and they will determine if individual
So if
assistance is
everybody
granted.
can report it, it would help the assessment.
Anytime there's a disaster, it starts at the lowest level, but when they want to meet those assessments to see if it meets the financial, each county has its number. So they're going to see as soon as the state knows, it doesn't matter which counties it are, it may just be on the east or it may be the center, they know they've reached that threshold, then it comes back, and then each county will go in there and see if that county meets the threshold, and that gives the availability, possibly, it's up to them
Right.
if those funds are actually available. But you've got to meet that threshold just to get your name, just to get Canadian County and El Reno in there.
So the message is to the people, report to the damage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because, let me put another caveat, let me make it simple for you. He's fire chief down there, but, and he's right.
It works.
It does. The bottom line is, what he's telling you, Trace, we've got to get to the threshold. What scares Mr. Sandage and I, and Mr. Legale is exactly correct, is that Piedmont and some of the other cities did not have as much damage. Does that make sense? So county-wise, we got to get to that threshold, and that's kind of the problem that we're a little worried about, is that we have, we're working, I need to call Gina down at Union City, but if we can get TJ, Gina, and everybody else that's on our side even, and the warden and some other things, and we're going to do that. We need to make sure that we report all that, and we have been on our side. And when FEMA starts, we start the time on Chris's time, Matt's time, and everything else. But the bottom line is that we're going to have to report that exactly. We're worried about getting to that threshold in order to get there, and that's the scary. Is that right, Kent? I mean, that's
Yes, that's
Mr.
right.
Sandage. Is that right?
Yes, and then this is different than it was a natural disaster, but it wasn't like a tornado where you're gonna have large swaths of expensive damage. There was damage all over town, but a lot of people may just call a plumber and have it fixed, but never report it, which then it never makes it into the database, it never
Right.
gets tallied up as part of the threshold.
And that's
So-
what I'm saying, for the residents, if you had damage, to report it. I reported mine to the database.
We reported
so,
ours.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
That website again.
damage.ok.gov.
Any other questions? I think we got everything hashed out. I mean, so moving forward, the bottom line is a lot of series of events. What do we do from here? We continue what we've been doing. We ramp up some of the things we've done, and we also move forward with the telemetry to basically control our customers more, and that's going to be our main focus at this point in time. But Steve, we're still going forward with a lot of the projects as far as the lab and everything else. All that's still out going to bid, and
Everything's still in the works, yes.
everything in the works. So I just want to be careful. We don't have to throw money at it. Let's figure out. I think we have a plan to where every bit of this money goes to do that. Because here's the other thing: is El Reno's a poor community. These people can't afford a big water bill. They got to have water. We got to provide them water. But we've done that for years. We just got to make sure that we upgrade the system. And once we do this other upgrade, we're going to have more water we know what to do with. But saying that, we need to keep on track of what we're doing. Move forward. Any other questions?
Well, the only comment I'd say is, El Reno is always El Reno strong. And I'll tell you what, I don't get on Facebook much, but what I heard from everybody else, I don't know where the heck the strong went, because it was like everybody else's fault. And instead of helping each other and helping your neighbors, it was always somebody else's fault.
Oh.
And everybody around this, out there, everywhere, was all out of water. Nobody was doing anything different than the other neighbor. When we do have these, if God forbid we ever do it again, at least think of the other people, because we're all in the same boat and we were all out of water. And I just think we need to dig back down and be tough and be strong. And remember, things happen in life and we all got to live with it. We don't need to abuse everybody else that's trying. Shoot, you was out there in the freezing cold and it was still your fault because you were out there helping everybody. And we all need to step back and think about that.
Or they're mad because you tell them, I don't know what time the water's come back on. I know, but really, what time's it come back on? I can't tell you.
Yeah.
Well, I know you can't tell me, but what are you thinking, tomorrow?
Yeah.
I don't know. The system has to power up. Well, what happened? The generators didn't work? No, the generator didn't work. Well,
no
I heard
matter
it was
what-
I heard it was a generator. is
No
what I
matter what
heard.
happens, it always works out and we always get to start again.
Absolutely.
And I want to say something, there was an element of people like that But there was also a large amount of people
Oh, you
that
bet.
once they knew what happened, they understood and were patient. So as when they got the communication, instead of just knowing that there's no water, and they found out why, then all they needed to know was why, and they understood. So my experience was there were some who were fussy, but once they knew, they understood and could go on, and they didn't continue.
Well, I am going to tell you this. I want you to think about this when I tell you this. I want to say first, you're right. I've got more comments than Mr. Sandage has too. Matt did a great job.
He did.
Along with all the staff. The employees, we have had people come out there and buy lunch, buy you Cokes, and it makes you feel good. And don't forget, we were still trying, before even the water went out, we were trying to keep our policemen and firemen safe when they were going out on calls with fire departments and tell everybody to stay in. So thank goodness for them also. But I tell you where you're wrong, Tracy. And I realize it's this storm. It always gets better, but when you don't have water, there was a hump there. I'm not kidding you. Once about the fourth day they didn't have water, it didn't matter what you tell them. No, I'm not kidding. I mean, I think that once you get past that fourth day, it's too late. They're upset. They're angry. Not everybody, but the ones that were bad, they couldn't. Once you went down, this is where we went, because it was conspiracy theories and like you said, he said, she said, and it's like, well, you're blaming Oklahoma City. No, we're not blaming. We're telling you what happened so we can let you know what's going on. We're not blaming. Are you blaming OG&E? Yes, we're blaming OG&E because they told us they weren't going to do rolling blackouts, and they did rolling blackouts on us. I mean, yeah. So all those series of events happened, but the bottom line is, once it get past that 4 or 5 days, man, people started stinking, and.
We all had that in
And
common.
you can quote me on that, Ray. Yeah, people start stinking, and when you get in the shower with a bowl, it's tough. I mean, and especially when you're a big old boy and you got to have a bigger bowl, and it was a tough bowl. That old wife of mine, she was boiling that water as fast as she could. But anyway, once you got past the lift, it was too late. Everybody was upset, and that's where it got out of control. There's nothing you can do at that point. There's nothing you could do. All right. Any other questions? Thanks, Steve. Thanks for everybody. Let's give everybody a round of applause. All right. Hard to do this with these glasses. And your shield. All right, we'll move on to 19. Nomination of 2 candidates to the Board of Trustees for Oklahoma Municipal Insurance Group for a 3-year term. Commencing on July the 1st, 2021. You have a list of people. I'm sure none of you all know any of these people.
This is just a call for nominations, this is not a vote.
Sure. And all we're going to do is just nominate the ones that we want to do. They're asking us to re-up. Is that correct?
Oh, it's at your discretion.
Okay. I mean, I know Craig Stevenson and I know Michael, so I nominate Michael Bailey, City Manager of Barterville, and I also name Craig Stevenson, City Manager of Ponca City. Got a motion and a second? Roll call vote, start with Jensen.
Vice Mayor Ballhorn.
Yep.
Councilman Robinson. Yes. Councilwoman Ryder.
Yes.
Mayor White.
Yes. Marcia. Get up here and talk about the money, or just stay right there and talk about the money. You can stay right there.
My sales tax in February was $787,394, but that was compared to $834,500 the year before, which we weren't in COVID yet, but things were slow again. This month, we have got the new numbers, and we're down again a little bit, $715,000. Our budget's $700,000, so we're just right there, and we're now preparing budget for next year, so we're looking at it carefully and gonna see how we're gonna do this, but we'll get there.
But saying that, Marcia, correct me if I'm wrong, with that budget and our number, the number that we come up with, you and I, the $700,000, that is with the furloughs and the other that we had in there. Is that correct? Right. Mr. Sandage?
That's right.
So we've taken those off. So you got to realize that, everybody. you're still eating on, you're in your emergency fund.
And this lower sales tax this month probably didn't include the latter part of February too much, it may include some.
Yeah. Next month will be the numbers. Don't you both think next month will be the numbers?
I think next month, it may be split between 2 months, Marcia, the time period when that some of the businesses were closed.
The
So that's
collected and
that's
everything
gonna
else.
hurt us. I think it's gonna be split between 2 months, and it'll be tough.
Okay, any questions? All right, number 21, to receive governing body training from the Oklahoma Municipal Assurance Group, OMAG, in regard of the recognition program. And we are blessed to have the best. This man needs no introduction. The man, the myth, the legend. Go ahead, big boy.
Well, buttering me up will get us out of here quicker, so
That's what I
is
do that for.
exactly the right approach to take. I appreciate working with Lindsay. If you didn't already take the stability test, throw your hand in the air. Didn't already take the stability test before the meeting.
I did.
I did. We did.
I did.
I did.
I
you
did.
I took one on.
Hang on, did you get out of here and still get the money if you did or don't? I'm not gonna answer the question first.
Well, no. So, who didn't take the test yet?
Dustin, hand me a water.
Who did not take the test yet? Give her the paper, give the mayor a paper, give,
I didn't take it online.
Thank you.
I've taken it, but I didn't take it online.
well, so you've already taken the test?
Right there in front of you.
All right, well, get the answer sheet from him. All right, put on your racing shoes, and we will take a test here in a second. First of all, let's get some preliminary things out of the way. My name is Bill Tackett. I'm the Director of Risk Management Services for Oklahoma Municipal Assurance Group. We really appreciate you guys having us out and your support for the recognition program. Got with me this evening Stephen Sapinski. Stephen is our newest OMAG member. He's in our Risk Management Services team. And Stephen has never been to a city council meeting before.
Boy.
So, Mayor, we got to read the questions before we answer them, so.
Ah, man.
I know it's a pain. And so Stephen's got a little education this evening on land use and zoning. That's always an interesting part of your job. So Stephen is a part of our team. We're glad to have him here. He graduated of UCO's Risk Safety Program, and he is also a person who served in the Marine Corps. Appreciate Brad's service. OMAG believes the best-run cities and towns have fewer claims, and claims they have cost less money to resolve, and that's why we do this training. You good folks are a member of a board of directors of a municipal corporation. You only hear that when I show up, but it's true. That's your job, and that's what you're supposed to do. We do this training because we think what gets measured gets done. That's the stability test that we're going to give you a chance to get through here in a minute. What gets measured with feedback gets improved. That's why we'll look at the past year's stability test. And what gets measured and rewarded gets repeated, and that's evident that you guys have me back because there's a cash reward for staff. And you guys do some innovative things with the money, and I appreciate the fact that you do that. So we're going to...
Bill, you might tell them what we do with the money. We give to the employees back to their days that they've had. We started that. Of course, COVID shut us down a little bit last year. We've had food trucks out. Lindsay and Katie and Matt and all of the employees, they really like that. I think they bought them chairs. Did y'all see the chairs they got and things like that? So it's nice to do that kind of stuff.
Bowling.
Bowling. We plan on going golfing one night, and so we try to do things with all the employees. Go ahead.
Very innovative, and so appreciate what you guys do with the money. Stability test, that's important. Because we're in the process business, we're not in the event business. We want to measure trends over time. So you guys have talked about going back to the 70s and the 90s and the early 2000s tonight. And so the council training is what we're doing. You guys have a handbook. You'll have action on that. And then, thank goodness we have a brand new Susie video because we got tired of that other one. I wonder if it'll play. What do we need to do? Push a button again?
Hello, my name is Susie Paulson, and I'm General Counsel at OMAG. I've been working in municipal government for 20 years, 13 of which were spent in the city attorney's office for Oklahoma City. The last 7 of which I've been at OMAG working with municipalities all over the state. OMAG insures about 505 Oklahoma municipalities in their municipal liability plan. And in any given year, OMAG defends 150 to 200 lawsuits. We see a wide variety of lawsuits like auto accidents and slips and falls, but by far the top 3 losses involve sewer backups, police action, and personnel action. About 33% of OMAG claims are related to sewer backups, 19 police activity, and 13 to personnel matters. Since we know these are challenges that most of our cities face, I thought I would share with you some ways that I think you can reduce liability for those 3 losses. Starting with sewer backup lawsuits. Sewer backup liability has steadily increased over the last 5 years. What we found is that most municipalities underfund the maintenance and operation of their sewer system. This may be because the problem is not visible, like say a pothole. So it gets overlooked until there's a major issue or some very upset citizens. As a governing body, you can make the maintenance and the operation of your sewer system a priority and appropriate money and resources to meet those needs. Reducing sewer backup liability is a high priority for OMAG as well. This is why we have grants for cameras, nozzles, root control products, and other equipment. We also have 6 SLRAT devices that can be checked out. The SLRAT will map your sewer system as well as detect any potential problems in the line. Next, let's talk about how to reduce police liability claims. The 2 biggest factors in defending a police liability claim are 1, policies, and 2, training. OMAG provides both of these free of charge through its partnership with Lexipol. 1, your police department must have written policies in place. In 2014, the Oklahoma legislature passed a law requiring every police department to have policies that address 13 areas, ranging from search and seizure to pursuit to professional conduct of officers. OMAG worked with Lexipol to develop policies that address these statutory requirements. 2, police training theories and tactics change all the time based on laws, court rulings, and let's face it, politics. Officers are expected to keep up with the changes, and they can do so with those Lexipol daily training videos. The governing body should also encourage police chiefs to develop relationships with chiefs in surrounding cities, counties, and tribes. Organizations like the Oklahoma Association of Chiefs of Police can also provide valuable information, ideas, and network opportunities. Last, let's talk about personnel liability. This is a struggle that all employers deal with, but municipalities, as public employers, must take some extra precautions when making employment decisions. First, you have to determine who has the authority to make personnel decisions in your municipality. It's key that you know and understand the laws about your form of government and any charter provisions that are related to personnel matters. For example, in a council-manager form of government, the governing body cannot legally intervene in personnel matters. But in an aldermanic form of government, the mayor makes personnel decisions. If you're not in a council-manager form of government, then the elected officials need to develop some sort of system of accountability to make sure employees are performing their functions in accordance with the policies set by the elected officials. Once you determine who can make personnel decisions, then be sure that there are policies in place that address workplace issues and that those policies are being applied fairly across the board. As a practical matter, a couple things can be done. First of all, document, the good and the bad. I like to say if it's not written down, it didn't happen. So document performance issues when they happen. This is key, especially if poor performance escalates over time and the employee needs to be terminated. 2, communicate with employees. Don't make assumptions that employees know what's expected. Put the expectations in writing in a job description and go over it with the employees. Meet with employees on a regular basis to talk about what's going on in the municipality. 3, train your employees. At the very least, your municipality must have an anti-harassment and discrimination policy and provide some sort of annual training on those issues. OMAG has online training available, or we can work with your city to provide in-person training if that is your preference. Beyond that, allow employees to attend specific training functions outside of the workplace, like OML, OMMS, or OMA conferences or seminars. These are great ways for employees to learn and network outside the workplace. You never know, they may bring back really great ways to improve your municipality. To wrap this up, I will say they don't lock the doors to the courthouse, but my 20 years of experience defending municipalities leads me to believe that the things I have mentioned do help reduce liability. We have 4 attorneys at OMAG with many years of municipal experience, including Matt Love, who was in private practice defending cities prior to coming to OMAG, Monica Coleman, who spent 25 plus years at the City of Oklahoma City in the legal department and as the assistant personnel director, and Jeff Bryant, who spent 30 years in the Norman City Attorney's office. If you have questions, you're welcome to reach out to any of us. We are not your city attorney, and we may not have the answer to every question, but we will do our best to help or find someone who can. You can find our contact information on the OMAG website under Contact and Legal Services.
It played, what do you know about that? New Susie video, it's the first time we've played that. It's kind of generic, so not everything applies to every form of government, but glad to see a new video. Now, all right, who hasn't taken the test one more time? I got ADD. Got 2 people.
Well, I mean, we took the test now. Don't yell at us, we already took it.
I'm done.
We will get you the test results, go ahead and collect those. And we've got those from taking them online. And so, how do you compare? Well, these are the averages. And you guys have, spent some time tonight talking about the things, the 10 key areas of municipal operations, right? Well, the lowest score across the state, regardless of your population, regardless of your form of government, is public image. And that's because the Twitter mob didn't solve all of our problems. Now, what's the highest score? Well, typically the highest score is crisis management, because typically people come together in a crisis. Now, day 4 and you smell bad, I get that, and the hump, I understand that.
Changes.
But staff pulls together really hard, lots of long hours, doesn't matter what the weather is. Governments exist to solve big problems that individuals can't solve on their own, right? So we see that generally we get high marks for crisis management across the state. Economic development varies by which community you're in and what part of the state you're in, east or west, and rural or urban. I'm going to still call you all urban. Planning and goal setting is an important thing that we're going to talk about some more. And finally, down here, the mayor's talked quite a bit this evening about communication. That's also typically not a great score. So how did you guys do in previous years? Well, you can see that the number 1 question is always about money. And in order to get a very high score, you're supposed to have a governing body policy that requires 20% in a savings account of the general fund that is fully funded. That's written down policy. So, Steve, does the city of Reno have one of those? And that's an issue, because it's not Matt Sandridge's policy, and it's not Kent's policy, and it's not your treasurer's policy, and it's not your clerk's policy. And I'm pointing, I have a little tone, but it's not your attorney's policy. It's not even your mayor's policy. It's your policy. And if you don't know, you can't give yourself a high score, because it's your policy. Because this guy comes and goes, and this guy comes and goes, and you guys come and go. And so part of this is to build a culture, a foundation for the folks that's coming after you. So you cannot have given yourself a good score if you don't know if you have that policy or not, because that's required to make a good score on that test. And the first number up here is dealing with finances, because if the money's not right, ain't nothing right. Governing bodies, you guys have 8.1, 7.6, your meetings, very high scores. Employees, very high scores. Now, of course, your employees, you guys are council manager form of government, but you guys work with your employees and you know them. Crisis management, you had a very high score in the previous 2 years, but now you had a black swan event. And so you had 15 degrees below zero and your water and all of those things, right? But that's a black swan event. And you guys have things in place that you're going to continue to talk about. Planning and goal setting, we've heard about that this evening. Communication. We heard some more about that. 81, 85, those are very strong scores. We've been from Boise City to Idabel, everywhere in between. We've been creeping up Aubrey on 190 or something cities. We've done this play. It's about like, you know, going to Eureka Springs, watching the Passion Play. I got it memorized by now. So we've been a bunch of places. We've been all over the state. Those are good, solid scores. This year, I read a book. I try to read one every fresh decade, and this one is by Simon Sinek. Simon is famous for Start With Why, Leaders Eat Last. This book is called The Infinite Game. What we did this year is we featured this game, this book, at the Winter City Managers Conference. Everyone that went to that conference got a copy of Simon's book. A member of Simon's team was our opening keynote. Every one of you should go to Amazon, buy this book, read this book. Every one of you should. We featured this book throughout the City Managers Winter Conference, and we're going to talk about it here tonight. It's kind of the reason I went to fourth grade, do a book report. It was the hardest 3 years of my life, but I got through the fourth grade eventually.
See, I didn't think you passed the fourth grade, Bill.
It's a tough deal to get through the fourth grade. How to win the infinite game, focus on your role as the governing body. Let's watch a movie. First of all, this is about the third time I've given this form of the presentation, so I'm a little higgledy-piggledy on it. But I can tell you this. The infinite game says that the horizon is broad and far. And if you play an infinite game with an infinite mindset, you'll advance the organization. If you play it with a finite mindset, you will lose because you're playing the wrong game, right? And so he talks about having a just cause, which is a vision, talks about trusting teams, talks about ethical fading and being flexible. So, with that in mind, the fact that you have a broad horizon, you're here for a finite time, and how do you advance the cause of this organization, we'll play a couple of videos.
It was America's last frontier. This territory was a tapestry of Indian nations and horizons open to settlers, whose courage and optimism sustained the dream of carving a living from this land in Oklahoma. Bank First is loyal to the spirit every settler shared, that hard work pays off and neighbors stick together through good times and bad. Bank First is loyal to our mission to grow this state by being deeply rooted in many communities, where each bank is run by local leaders whose decisions benefit their own hometowns and customers. We believe it's the best way to realize this state's great promise. Bank First, loyal to Oklahoma, loyal to you.
I don't own any Bank First stock. I do owe them a bunch of money, and they're always surprised every month when they get a check from me. But I think that perfectly illustrates the infinite game, to go from prairie to Native Americans to 2021. It's a long game. It's a long horizon. We're here for a short time. And so how does the infinite game work in municipal government? Well, the first thing is you got to stop playing the wrong game. Don't have a finite mindset. Have an infinite mindset. How is your tenure going to advance the organization? So we heard about the 1970s and the work that was done there, in the 1990s, in the early 2000s, and here we are at 2021. So we're building on what went before, or we're living through what didn't get done before in every community in Oklahoma and around the nation. Simon Sinek has the Golden Circle. He made a bunch of money off of Start With Why. He created a little target here, what, how, and why. We'll watch a short video with Simon explaining it.
There's a pattern. As it turns out, all the great and inspiring leaders and organizations in the world, whether it's Apple or Martin Luther King or the Wright brothers, they all think, act, and communicate the exact same way, and it's the complete opposite to everyone else. All I did was codify it. and it's probably the world's simplest idea. I call it the golden circle. Why, how, what? This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Let me define the terms really quickly. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? Why does your organization exist? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? And why should anyone care? Well, as a result, the way we think, the way we act, the way we communicate is from the outside in. It's obvious. We go from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing. But the inspired leaders and the inspired organizations, regardless of their size, regardless of their industry, all think, act, and communicate from the inside out.
So that's Simon in his own words talking about the golden circle. Start with why. Start with the less clear, work your way out to the more concrete. So we've got a handout here. The bottom of it is test result information. The top is what I think we'll focus on more this evening. And so Simon's golden circle starts with why, how, and what. And Simon says that the inspired leaders always start from the inside out. Now, I don't know anything new. Everything I own and have is either old or stolen. I don't have an original thought in my head. Somebody tells me something, I come and tell it to you. Let's see if Simon's correct. That inspired leaders, infinite thinkers, start from the inside and work their way out. Let's start with something that's a couple of thousand years old. Most of us know it. Maybe it's the ultimate infinite thinker, or maybe it's the ultimate infinite game player. Let's see if this 2,000-year-old quote works from the inside out. Ready? For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth on him should not perish, but have eternal life. Why? God loved. How? God gave. What? Eternal life. It's not new. It's old. Goes back even further than that. So if you start with why, if you start with the less concrete and work to the more concrete, then you can play the infinite game. Every city and town exists for these two reasons. The first time people clumped up in Eden Group was for these two reasons: to increase their safety against marauders and animals, and to facilitate commerce when people came by so they could trade stuff with them. That's the exact same two reasons, two missions that you guys have. Right? That's the exact same that you have. So the golden circle works on what, how, and why, and we'll look at that some more. Now, there's a guy named Lex, and he added a who to it. So let's look at the what, how, and why for cities and towns. Who? I know this is basic: individuals, families, and businesses, right? We're on this page. It starts with the who, not the why. Why? Why does this town exist? It exists for the same reason every other town exists: to create a community that attracts quality folks who want to live, work, and raise a family and make the place better. That's why this organization exists. How? That's everything you do. Public spaces, budget controls, public safety, amenities, streetscapes, boards, commissions, community involvement. That's how you do it. You know how you do it. What? What's the outcome? Increased public safety and facilitated commerce. That's the result of the why. Attract the kind of people that you want to come here to make the place better. Do all the things that you do for your how, and get the end result of the what. So, your process to why. let me tell you your process to why is basically I found in the key of your agenda. Now, you guys are a council manager form of government, so I'm going to say that only 4 things ever belong on agenda. Only 4 things in a council manager form of government belong on agenda. They are things that I often don't find on agendas, right? And those 4 things are the future. I go around the state. You know what I always find? Yesterday and today. We're gonna pay some bills that we already used that gasoline. We ain't gonna go get it back. Yesterday and today. But what about the future? There's no other group of people empowered in this community to take this community to the future. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody gets to give their constituency input. Only you all get to vote. At least regularly, there should be something about the future on your agenda. The second thing that belongs on your agenda are policies and culture. You all are the guardians of the culture of this organization. So, part of your job is policy. We'll talk about that when we talk about your duties. Monitoring results. How do you monitor results? How do you know how good a job you're doing? How do you know how effective the fire department is? How do you know how effective the city clerk's office is? How do you know how effective the sewer plant is? How do you, as elected officials, the board of directors for a municipal corporation, how do you know how the organization's functioning? What kind of reports do you get? How often do you get them? Okay? And the 5th thing that should only ever be on an agenda are decisions that exceed the authority granted to staff. And down the little print says that you, in my opinion, should push authority down as far as you can, possibly push it down, and you should pull information up. If you think of a pyramid, a triangle, down at the base, there is a ton of information. It has to go through a bunch of filters, and when it gets up to y'all's level, not as much information. Push authority down and pull information up. Let's look at your agenda and see how I have pointed out some things that we could talk about, or we could note. Just because these are my observations, don't make it right, by the way. It's my observations. So, number 7. Number 7 was clearly something about the future. I said every agenda, or at least a regular item, regularly on your agendas throughout the year, there should be something about the future. Number 7's about the future. Number 15 could have been about the future. I guess everybody was happy about the list, right? When you all make a budget, that's a short-term future thing. I got told at Okie State that politics is defined by who gets what when. And in this form of government, the only time you all really should be playing politics is at budget time, because that's the time when you allocate resources and you decide who gets what when. You also do it when you come into land use issues, I get that. Okay, that's a future thing. Look below there, number 16. That's very definitely a future thing. So I've give 3 future things on here, which is 3 more than I'm normally going to find. Just being honest with you. All right, let's look at some things where we might push authority down. Matt Sandridge, what is your spending authority?
My spending authority, $25,000 or less.
Okay, so there should never be anything on your agenda, in my humble opinion, you run your town the way you want to, that's administrative in nature. And we'll talk about that in a minute. If that's true, I would say number 8 is administrative. You've already granted that authority. I would say number 10 is administrative. You've already granted that authority. Does that mean you don't need to know about it? No. You handle your communication the way you're comfortable doing it, but you've already granted that authority. Now, why is that important? Well, we'll talk about that in just a minute. But we want to, let's see. Yeah, let's see. Why is it going forward and not backward? What happened? Trouble broke out.
Because we look to the future.
We've gone to the future. All right. You guys are board of directors of municipal corporation. That means you have the same three duties that the board of directors of Walmart has. Those duties are care, obedience, and loyalty. You have the duty of care. That means when you show up, you've read your packet, you know what's going to be discussed and acted on, if anything. Doesn't mean you vote the same way she does. It means you're all prepared to come and discuss and act. Obedience means you follow the rules and regulations the federalities, the state of Oklahoma, and any previous city councils have put in place until you change them or do away with them for resolutions or ordinances. And the duty of loyalty means your hat says El Reno. Doesn't say cop shop, fire department, doesn't say parks or streets, it doesn't say my neighborhood, except maybe at budget time. It says El Reno. And so what is best for the organization as a whole? And that might mean that sometimes what's best for the organization as a whole is not as the greatest thing for your ward this time.
Right.
Could mean that. That's what your hat says. Time, money, and people are your resources, and you guys think your most scarce resource is money. It is not. Your most scarce resource is time, because you meet 15, 16 times a year, maybe tops, once a month. Some special meetings thrown in.
I was gonna say, we have quite a few special meetings, it seems like.
Some special meetings thrown in. So if time is your most scarce resource, and it is, that means when you've already granted authority, don't put administrative stuff on your agenda. Make sure you've got plenty of room on your agenda for future and for policy and for things that only you guys can do. Don't let these guys do your job. But don't do administrative things. Set a direction for the city, approve policies that help staff take you there, monitor results. You should be monitoring your results, and you should know what's going on with the organization. Now what happened? Now I broke it, so we're done. Everything's a process. The Apostle Paul told the Greeks at Corinth that you plow, plant, water, weed, and wait, and the good Lord gives the increase. It's not an event. You had a weather event, but progress is not an event. It's part of the infinite game. It's a process. An infinite game model is you're going to incrementally gain ground towards where you're going. An event is what I thought growing up. Halloween, Easter, summer, school's finally out, got my first car, kissed my first girl, got my first job. Events. It's not. The process was all the boring stuff in between the events. Nope, that's where everything was happening. You guys are in the process business. Why don't you stand beside me and operate this complex piece of equipment? Why don't you do that? You need to advance your just cause, and you do that by planning and having things on your agenda about the future. Because you guys are the ones that are going to create the type of community that attract quality people that want to come and live and work and play and raise a family and make the place better. That is your just cause. If you read the book, Just Cause makes more sense to you, and I suggest you do. You guys are the only ones in the community, and there could get some pushback on this, but we believe this. You guys are the only ones in the community that can serve and should serve as the chief vision officers. Staff is supposed to receive your directions and carry them out. I understand there's a synergy between staff and governing body people, and I understand you guys include them in the visioning process, and you should. But you guys are the chief vision officers for El Reno. And here's how you know if you're succeeding or not. The true value of an organization is measured by the desire others have to contribute to that organization's ability to keep succeeding, not just during your tenure, but long after your tenure is over. We stand on the foundation that was built just like the Bank First commercial in the teens, 100 years ago in the 30s, in the Dust Bowl, in the tough times, post-war, when I was growing up as a kid, and now today. None of it's particularly profound, absolutely none of it's new. It's old or stolen. But I think if you'll get the book, if you grasp the idea of playing an infinite game, if you'll consider your why, your how, and your what in that order, if you have something about the future on your agendas, if you guard your most precious resource, which is your time, you all will continue to succeed. Thanks for having us out. We really appreciate y'all's partnership. And you guys deserve a break. You guys have had some rough weather, and thank you all for serving. It's a thankless job, and without you guys serving, this community is not going to progress the way it should. So thank you so much for doing that.
Bill, thank you so much for coming. Always enjoy seeing you. You do a great job, and Bill, I will tell you, I like this approach a lot better. And what I mean by that is, we've done this several years, and we've talked about this, but I like that you had the videos, that we did more in depth, and that we were taking charge. And so it's not just emotion. We want to get out of here. I mean, because the key to this deal is, I run this passion just like I do my business or my life or whatever else, and that's how I run the El Reno City. That's how I make the judgment calls on that, and that's what we need to do. And I think of course, we've been to a lot of meetings and a lot of conventions together and trainings and things like that, but I do appreciate you all coming out, and I do appreciate the better structure. Not that it was bad before, but I appreciate the direction of taking this job seriously and making sure that we have a institutional knowledge that we can pass on to keep it going, because once we leave or whatever else, the next person has to take that torch up in order to complete some of those goals of where we know what the why is, we know what the what, but we didn't really get there yet. And those time frames are very important in municipal government. So we really, honestly, great job, guys, and I appreciate it.
Very well. And I like the cups. It's my favorite one I have at home.
That's last year's cup. Next year you'll get last year's cup.
Good. I have the one from 2 years ago then.
Oh, they always talk about the world's best pen. Get out of here, Bill.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you. Okay. Consider action regarding municipal resolution regarding the Oklahoma Municipal Research Group recognition program. We have to sign this in order to get the money, don't we? I make a motion, we approve the resolution.
Second.
21-030. I got a second by Ryder. Roll call vote, start with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ballhorn?
Yep.
Councilman Jensen? Mayor White?
Yes. All right, we'll move on to G, reports. Steve, you got anything?
Just commend the city staff and everybody that worked on the project. Just give them like I said, if you see them out buying Coke, buying lunch, buy something, give them something, but tell them thank you, because everybody worked hard. And,
Absolutely.
Just unprecedented conditions, and just, great job.
Bob?
Not really. I mean, everybody was too busy.
Timmy? Tracy?
Good.
Really? That's it. Couple things, reiterate what Steve, but, you're never gonna mention everybody, but our police department, Jason Duff for the water deal. Gosh, man, that guy, and that poor guy, to get the job that Kent had was so easy for all those years. Kent didn't do anything for years. And then poor Duff gets in there and just goes through the hell. I mean, poor Duff gets hammered, and Legale didn't do anything for 30 years. I don't know why, but...
It was 35.
Okay.
Let's just cap that off, huh?
But Chief Brown and those officers that worked out there, we had one little small accident with all that was going on and everything else. I talked to other cities. That's what people don't realize. Matt and I both talked to a lot of cities. And several other cities had same water problems that we did. They just were smaller eastern or southern cities that they just weren't around us, and easy for the news stations to come out every 5 minutes. So, the bottom line is that they're all going through that. I want all the department heads, Kent and Matt, you can't not, the assistant manager and the city manager both absolutely are ready for this job. They've done a great job. They've done a good job. Can't thank them enough. couldn't do it without the combination that we have up here. Jeff Koba, some lady was, complaining about downtown a little bit. We understand we haven't got the street sweeper. I think it's coming Thursday and some other things. But, they cleaned downtown twice. They had all that cleaned off twice.
When downtown business were closed.
Well, that's it. And we don't get, we're all in this together. All in this together. We don't pick up we don't pick up a can, but yet we're that's just.
Right. Walk by a piece of trash, pick it up.
Well, that's it. I mean, come on. Some of that's just being silly. And it's just not right. And I've had it. And to call our employees names and things like that, call them a B word, you know what? Okay, I get it. I mean, these people are out working. So I think it goes back to the point, Koba, Chris Smith, Amy Smith. Amy Smith had all of this stuff. We had everything winterized. Thank God we had the new blade that we bought because we had both blades. We didn't sell the other one. We had it out, so it was great. And we had all the tractors out. They all had this stuff in the so that it didn't gel up. Steve,
I'll make a point of that. I went to buy some fuel anti-gel.
And it was sold out.
From Johnson, and it was gelled up.
Yeah.
I asked them out at AG or former Johnson, asked John Andrade. I said, what am I supposed to do with this? He said, well, I guess you're gonna have to go warm it up. You've already gelled up, it's not gonna work. So,
Right. Same deal. My tractor gelled up.
We've never had the problems with diesel fuel that's supposed to be winterized and it's still gelled up.
You had the same thing.
Yeah, tractors couldn't start.
I went and got a new battery, and then I put the anti-gel in there before, and Chris did too because I asked him. I said, I got that stuff. I got some extra if you need it. And he had it, but the bottom line is my tractor wouldn't start up, and I had to put a heat lamp underneath my tractor, run a brand new tractor. But I mean, you're at. Like Steve said, you're at temperatures you can't move. But everybody from the city managers and to Lindsay to the girls up here, the poor girls up here at the water department. Geez, and I worked one morning, Lindsay, just to give them a break. I worked one full day up here just to give them a break, or half day, I'm sorry, just to give them a break. And you should have heard the people calling up here. Well, when are you going to get the water? Man, we're working on it right now. Well, why? What do you mean you're working on it? Oh, we're working on it. I mean, whatever answer you can give them. So, I know people are frustrated, and I get it, but I'm like Bob, a little bit of that El Reno Strong deal. That goes two ways. The girls at the office were good. All these guys, Amy was cooking stew and stuff for the guys. As they were cleaning the roads off, would come by their house to get food. I mean, we had people bringing us stuff. I mean, it was pretty incredible the way it all worked. It was bad, but, this was more of an inconvenience deal, and that's what the problem was with this. But I commend staff, and like I said, Matt and all of the staff. Like I said, I can't think, I'm going to forget everybody, but Brown, Koba, Chris Smith, Amy Smith, Josh and his bunch out there at Veolia, they did it. They were sleeping out there. They were sleeping out there. Poor Josh was out there sleeping out there. And we would go out there every morning and get coffee and get a report and go over where we are and get a plan. We'd have Steve on the line, and I called Don Goucher. Chris called Mason. I mean, it's not like we weren't just, we were talking to everybody to make sure we were doing everything right, to what we were doing. So I'm pretty upset with some of that stuff. I'm going to get over it a little bit, but that's pretty tough when you're working this stuff and you're doing all this stuff trying to make it all work. It's pretty easy to yell things from the cheap seats. Get in the driver's seat and get your ass out here and do it. Because I'm like whoever, was it Bob or Steve or whoever said it. I'm going to tell you the one that was powerful, boys. It's when, I think it was William, was out there at the well field, and we pulled that one stack, and that kid has a beard, about this big. And there was absolutely ice cubes on that kid's beard as he was working, and never stopped one bit. Never stepped a beat, did he, Matt? And I mean, had that ice cubes just hanging off his beard. And I mean, that's pretty powerful to tell you how much a guy's, getting, that we had to, maybe lay off last, year ago because of all this stuff, And he's out there working just to get his water back on and his grandma's water back on just as much as he is yours. And, I get it. But it is, this one kind of hurt us pretty bad as far as just not the support. And I'm with the whole council. I know the whole council feels this way. We got to, if you see a police officer, you see a parks guy, if you see a fireman, if you see a water department, do something nice. Hand them a note. Give them a piece of candy. Buy them a Coke. Say thank you, like Steve said, like all of us think. And that's what's more important than anything else. And this one was just more of an inconvenience everybody got upset about. And we were upset about it too. But it's not because we lacked of anything else. It's not because we got to raise more money. Everything's in place. We're doing it right. We have to continue selling that ship. We got to stick to that ship. And we have been. With all the purchases and the line out and things we've done with Steve Fox, this is absolutely preparing us. So that's all I got. Motion for adjournment? Got a motion?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Oh, wow, Sandich, I didn't get to let you talk. I was wanting to get out of here, Matt.
I know, I don't want to keep anybody longer than we have
No,
to.
you talk. I forgot about you. I want you to talk.
I'm going to reiterate the commending staff. I mean, it's all hands on deck. That's an understatement, really. I mean, from the answering the phones, the heat that those ladies took up front, or anybody answering the phones at the time when we didn't have water. It was not an easy thing to do because we didn't have the answers. We didn't have the timeline. It was a pretty helpless feeling.
And we can't lie to people.
Yeah, and I know y'all were taking phone calls too, and I know that we were all in this together. Jason Duff, I mean, you mentioned some specific people, but also his family was out there distributing water. His boys were out there, Melody was out there. So I want to give a shout out to them as well, because they spent every evening for multiple days in a row distributing water, bulk water, to anybody who needed some water to flush their toilets and this and that. So, I mean, it was, certainly we all came together, and I thought we have a great, strong team here. One other point, I'm going to change topics, switch gears a little bit. If you've noticed, we've only had two weeks above freezing, but we've got weeds popping up. So we're working on a plan for seasonal labor. We don't have our inmate program back. Our inmate program is out of the Union City State Facility, and they haven't released them back to the trustee program because of COVID. So we typically get how many, Kent? 10, 12, depending on the year, trustees to help.
Throughout the city.
To help mow, pick up trash, weed eat, all of the labor maintenance jobs. We don't have, I mean, it's a substantial contribution that they make. So we're working on a plan for seasonal labor. We're going to start advertising that. Certainly, with tax revenues down, it's not ideal, but with our Parks and Recreation, with our cemetery, with all of our guys have been working overtime just trying to keep things going. We want to provide some relief to them if we can, so they can take a vacation and that kind of thing. So.
And with that, I mean, El Reno's a nice town. If somebody's retired, they can come donate, volunteer, help out to do some of this stuff. Because I know at the golf course, mowing, different things, volunteers, we can always use help.
Matt, is there an age, do you have to be over 18 or 21? Like, is there an Eagle Scout program or something that maybe?
So we, are you talking for volunteers or?
Volunteers, yeah.
For volunteers, we have a waiver program. Lindsay has the documentation on that, so we have had kids or groups pick up trash and that kind of thing. As far as operating equipment and actually hiring you, that we have age limit on different pieces of equipment. 16 and over is the age limit, but if you're going to run a tractor, you're going to have to be over 18. So.
And don't forget, I started the mayor's work program last year. We couldn't do it. Well, then COVID hit. We didn't. I mean, we had about 5 applications up there, really some good kids, but they're working through some of those, and I want to start that back up, but I don't want to do that until everything settles down. We get the numbers back right and adjust all that. I don't want to do anything until we do that, but I absolutely want to get that program going back up, because that was a big program that we come up with, that the mayor's work program. I think we can get these young kids and, get some weed eaters in them, and like you said, stick them where they want to.
That was another thing I thought about, like the OJT program the school offers. A lot of those kids don't have a job to go to, but they're in OJT.
Well, and that's what we talked about. That's who we were hoping for.
I think it could be a win-win both sides.
Well, what our process is, one of them could have been a good operator. What I'm saying, he was going to be if he would have stayed with us, I think we could have taught him from a weed eater all the way to a loader, to a blade. That's how I was brought up. I mean, that's what you do. You start right here and you go up.
And we actually have employees that started here in high school, Allie,
Yep.
who's been here for quite a while.
How long you been here now, Ally?
Be 9 years in May.
Is that
I
right?
started in high school.
Well, you didn't work as hard as the old
I
fire.
was right out of high school, and so was Ken Brown.
Right out of high
Seriously,
Yeah, that's right.
both of us were right out of high school.
Well, I knew a councilman was right out of high school too, but anyway, all right. What else? Matt?
Oh, that's all I have.
But Matt, once again, you and your staff, everybody did a great job. Son, and that's what I don't think people realize. You and Kent did so much behind the scenes. And people, and I'm gonna ask somebody, I want you all to be honest. All four of you. Can you tell me who the city manager of Oklahoma City is? Holt? Holt? No. Who's the city manager of Oklahoma City? Nobody knows, do they? But you know hang on, but who's the mayor of Oklahoma City? Uh-huh. The problem is, I have to do the camera stuff because they can't take the heat for it. They gotta do the work. This is part of this job, and people don't realize that. You have to take the heat of this deal to the one side of this because that's what we do, and it's a good and bad. Now, I will tell you, I've learned a lot, and I tell you, Kent had a good idea, and it helped Matt and I both, is when we did the session with the four. It helped me, it helped them, it helped everybody. But sometimes we didn't have the four because the other three were working and going and blowing and going. And I'm even going to hand it to Kent, and Matt and I use Kent. He's like a tool. But he was already at the water plant before we got, and we were there at 7:30, 8 o'clock every morning. And Kent was already been there. We'd already discussed it. We're talking. We're getting the flow tests. They have Jonathan and the fire department out doing tests to help us. Had Chief Duff out there doing the flow tests. Everybody.
Police department was out there.
Chief Brown. Chief Brown was out there.
Bleeding air. Yeah.
Bleeding air. We all were. I was too. I went by and we got a pipe and we bled air too. So it's not like people were thinking, well, why can't you bring more people in? It's not that people didn't equal more water at that point in time. Right. Everybody had to do their job, and everybody did their job. And you can't be more proud of people, but they won't understand that until after it's all over with, and it doesn't ever happen again. And hopefully it never happens again. Yeah. Kent, you got anything?
Hopefully.
No, just exactly what you guys have been talking about, and something that really wasn't mentioned, I've lived my life in disasters and that type of response. You prepare yourself as good as you can, then when Mother Nature does what she does, you can't control Mother Nature, but then you look back and evaluate, how could I have minimized what Mother Nature did to us this time? I.e. some telemetry, some things like that. But what most people don't realize is Chris has heard me yell at him enough as fire chief, and he called me on Thursday before it got cold and said, I want you to know, everything's full of water. If we lose power, we got as much water as we can hold right now. People don't realize that. And so, he did everything, and now we're looking back as an organization and seeing, doesn't matter what Mother Nature does, because you cannot control that, but how can you minimize those effects next time? And that's what we're doing, that's what Chris is doing, and that's what we do, and it works. There is a system, and it works if I hide in the background, and I'm happy to do that, hide in the background.
Well, it wasn't hiding. Like I said, we could have done it. Even Marcia, we're getting her figures. Those girls are out there trying to work to get us figures to make sure we have that. And I mean, I don't think people realize the chaos and organization that's going on during these situations.
Marcia and Karen set up the accounts for emergency purchases quickly because we knew that it could be a FEMA declared
Could be a FEMA event.
So we had to start tracking.
There's a couple of different terms for that, but we'll stick with organized chaos. How's that?
Well, and that's what it was. I mean,
That would be the good one we stick with.
That'd be the good one. I mean, because that's exactly what it is. It's organized chaos. And,
No, it is.
And you deal with the situation, you move on. And we've done that before, so it's not anything new. All right, guys. Motion adjournment? Roll call.